City of Sanford Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting held Wednesday, April the 6th at 4 p.m. in the Railroad Depot Room, Sanford City Hall, 300 North Park Avenue, Sanford, Florida, 32771.
Good?
All right, we'll go ahead and call the CRA meeting to order. We'll start out with calling a roll call.
Steve Chesmer,
Paul Osborne.
Ryan Vogt.
Mike Yeba,
Charles Davis.
Jennifer Cockcroft.
Bob Turk.
Sheena Fort. Sonia Fonseca.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We're into, I cannot believe this is April. I don't know how many of you guys are shocked on it, but I am. We'll go ahead and start out approval of the minutes. Take the motion.
I move to approve the minutes for the March 2nd meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Moving into housekeeping. Approval of March 2nd. Treasury report.
Afternoon.
How are you?
How are you?
Are we rich yet?
No, I don't know yet about that. But your February 29th treasury report is in your binder. The only change I have is that the ad valorem taxes, since the issuance of these statements, we received another $19,000. And that's the only change or information in addition, unless you have any questions.
No, I don't. One real quick. I've gotten a call, and it might have been taken care of, Sheena, but Paul from the West End. I know now that when we do a special event, we are paying directly downstairs. But he was in the midst of us coming up with that plan, and he went ahead and wrote his check for not the last event, the event prior. And I know I'd sent an email, but he sent me a text last week saying he still hasn't received a check. So I don't know if we need to do something on that.
He hasn't received a check for reimbursement for what he paid.
Right.
It hasn't come to us, but I mean, I can check on it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell him, do I need to have him just get in contact with you? Would that be the
I'll
easiest
take
way?
care of it.
All right, thank you. And then I guess it's going smooth as far as paying downstairs for events and everything? Everything's going pretty... And then my second part of that question is, we don't see, if we gave, let's say, $1,000 and it all of a sudden turned out to be $800, I know we would get that put back in the budget, but will that be brought to our attention so that we know there's more money in there? So, like if we told them we pay up to $1,000, but it came in at say $700, how's the $300 making it back? And this is a fictitious number, but how would the $300 make it back, and how will we be aware of it? Just by looking on the report?
Yeah, I don't think you would be aware of it unless there was a report telling you. The promotional activity budget line item would just go up.
Okay.
But for the individual ones, like sofa and suds, I believe came in at a little lower amount than you had authorized, but the rest have come in at the
All right,
current
so we
amount.
just need to pay attention to the to what we have in there as opposed, and then that will tell us. Leading up to that, and I know we're going to go into that, but is that something in the post reports that we do get the city costs of what they actually were? I don't think we did talk about that. We can get to that when we get down to it because it's on the agenda. All right.
Well, I have a question for you too, though.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
regarding if we're going over budgets now, skipping ahead, I noticed that there are some events that are looking for approval for funding, and we have limited amount.
Right.
In that, do we need to move money over and do it now, or should we do it as needed per
We're going to
event?
approve them. I think we should. We need to get a handle on that, and we're way behind the 8 ball. And we did discuss this at the last meeting. We are trying to make criteria a little on the post end of it so that we can get a handle on what an event is.
Right.
For this year, what we budgeted and what we're spending is a pretty big different number there. And I see that to go back to where we get a little more of a handle on it next year. But I would say in this case, let's just do it case by case because not every event, if we added it all up and moved it over there, that's not saying that we're going to approve every event for that amount.
Right.
That's not guaranteeing that. So I'd say why don't we do it?
But can we do that? Can we amend the budget per agenda item as needed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything else for Cynthia?
No.
Thank you. CRA board procedures. Sonia.
Okay, so hopefully, we'll go through some of this presentation and we'll get to some ideas about how we might be able to capture some of that information that you're looking for now with regard to what you actually spend. So it's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to, I remember you asked me to go back over a 2-year period and look at the events that you've done, what you spent and on what post-event reports were on file, what they say. So I did that, and then I went ahead and I benchmarked, and I found other post-event reports across the board on different types of events, and captured what they include, and mapped it out for you, and then got a post-event report that you can take a look at and determine if that has what you would like. So here's an outline of what we'll be talking about today. Again, something that, and this is in front of you in case this is hard to see up here, but over the last couple of years, by meeting date, I went ahead and recorded each and every one of the events that you approved in the amount. So you'll see that if you have a policy of trying to get them to be self-sustaining, you can see that sometimes it's a little arbitrary in the amount that gets awarded. Sometimes they're getting more in the post years than they are previous years. That could be because the event is larger, so there could be some reasonable causes for that. But it would help if part of the analysis on the front end included the post-event from the prior.
Leading up to that, we never really had a criteria for what we did. We just gave a number. In the last, I'd say 3 years, we've kind of gone in the direction of covering city costs, and that's pretty much where we're at. So that's probably why you saw it spike up and then all of a sudden become a little more even-keeled. Now, the city did have an increase in city costs, I believe, last year, so
Okay.
that would be a change. But really, all we're doing now is covering city costs.
Now, that's the other thing that I did notice in the application documents themselves, and we can continue looking here. Again, some of these events are new in the second year, so you really don't have any prior years to compare it to. I did notice that some of the events actually indicate in the application that they will not have the criteria of 300 people or more. So sometimes what's happening is they're getting approved for funding and they don't even meet your basic criteria. So all of that has to kind of be on the front end analysis before you approve somebody. If they don't meet your basic criteria, they shouldn't be in front of you for review anyway. But that's part of the process of getting into a more formal review, okay? So far, this is kind of a summary of those 2 years' worth of events and what you spent in each year and what you spent total. So in 13-14, you spent just over $56,000, and in 14-15, you spent just over $62,000. And these are the events that you spent it on. As you can see, some of them, the number increased, like for the St. John's River Festival, the approved amount was $10,000. Now, part of this report going forward would include what you actually paid out, because that part wasn't in the record anywhere. So, I went through all of your files. Sheila was nice enough to allow me to pick them up and take them away and look at them. And I looked at all the files to see what post-event reports were there. And I also looked at the minutes if there wasn't a hard post-event report on file. And what I found is that you had some that were on file, and some of them were pretty good. Some of them, it was kind of an arbitrary work because they were not always consistent. But what I found was that some folks, the larger events, typically those folks that have done this over and over, they provide you with some post-event reporting. It's just not always consistent. And they also lack measurable objectives. Okay, so even though you're getting a report, you might end up with a report that says it went really well.
We got that. It was great.
Yeah. So, how to measure success. This is where we benchmarked and we went through a whole lot of different reports to see what other people were using as a criteria for their post-event reports, and it was across medical, any number of different types of reports, but they always have something in common, and that is they set an objective right out of the front end. What are you trying to do? We want to raise this much money for a charity, or we want to improve our reputation, or there's something that you're trying to accomplish by this event, okay? And it can't just be we want to have this event because we think it would be cool, you know? So whatever that is, you have to create some means by which you measure that, and that is how you get to an ROI. So if you're trying to raise a certain amount of money for charity, you do need to compare your actual cost to what you generate in revenue so that you can determine whether or not it's a good use of your resource. So that's just a real basic math calculation, but there are two things that you also need to measure that have nothing to do with the event itself, and that is your program person, whoever it is that you put in charge of overseeing the event, has to determine the quality and whether or not it's impactful. And that needs to be a narrative that's written by your staff. So I may be the person that's having this event. I want to raise $500 for a charity. I meet my goal. I raise $500, but it costs you $5,000. So the ROI looks bad, and you know the food was terrible, and the nobody came. You know that comes as a narrative from your staff. So how to write a post-event report. There's an example of the form that I came up with that's in front of you. And these are the essential pieces of a post-event report. You can do it in a number of different ways, but you should inform the person that's coming for the event grant up front that they're going to have to do this. And their application should include a lot of the projections that will later be in this post-event report, and their budget, obviously, they have to do an actual budget report. And of course, we're going to begin to collect that information and gather it over the years so that you'll know if it's impactful over time. You'll know if new events come in, what is it that you're trying to do for the city with these events. Budget being a very important conversation that you were having, because if you're spending more and more on events, you have to have at some point, you have to determine, we're not spending as a board, we're not going to allow more than this much to go out, 10% of our overall revenue for the year or whatever, because otherwise it can get out of control pretty quickly. So the form in front of you contains all of these things that I'm talking about being important for the post-event report. Obviously, some of this stuff is in the application already. So if this is an electronic form, we can certainly set it up so that it populates those things that you already have at the application level, so they don't have to refill that. You can have this filled out online. You can have them do a hard copy, whatever you need. This is going to generate a pie chart that lets you know a little bit more how much of the overall budget was spent on each different category that you want to track. Okay? So that form in front of you, look it over, determine whether or not it contains what you want to see, and we can implement that pretty quickly by just adding it to the application and making it a criteria in the agreement. It's real simple language.
Let me ask the board this too, is that, for an ROI on it, if the nonprofit was wanting to raise $500, quite honestly, I don't think, from our standpoint, this is my take on it, is that I really don't know that we should care whether they're raising money for it. Our ROI is going to be how many people they're bringing into the district and how they're promoting Sanford. Does that seem like we should be on the same page with that? Because, obviously, if they're trying to raise $500 and we give them $1,000, it'd been just easier for us to write the check for them for $1,000 and call it a day. So, and we're not in the business to do that, but what we are in the business to do is to make sure that they're promoting our downtown and bringing people in. And I'd forgotten that we had a 300-person minimum on an event as well, and that's something that we probably need to take a little look at as well.
Yeah.
But so I think our ROI should be that. You guys. Anybody agree, disagree? Anybody watching this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so your return on investment really is in benefits to the city, not so much in the event being a benefit for what its purpose is intended. So that makes all the sense in the world, and so you just need to let people know that up front, because they're going to have to give you a projection of that up front for you to evaluate whether or not, if you have $100,000 for events if this event is worth your money.
How do we get documentation from them that really gives us a closer perspective of how many participants were really there? 'Cause people come before us and they go, we had 20,000 people over 2 days, or 5,000, and it doesn't always match what you see visually.
Right, well, they are going to be tasked with figuring out a way to do that, because if they have an event that people have to register for, then they have registrants, then they need to have a way to capture attendees. That is not your concern. They have to come up with a way to do that, because that's part of what you're going to evaluate. If they can't come up with a way to measure attendees, then you should consider not giving money to an event that can't do that.
Well, I think what Steve's getting at is they always come up with a way, but
Like
the
the
accuracy of it, though, is debatable sometimes.
Well, that is the other issue here. I mean, they're going to have to provide you with financial reporting afterwards, so you're going to have a budget to actual. And if they're not accurate on the number of people that attend, even after they implement a system by which they capture the number of people that attend, I don't know that you can solve that problem. We're on an honor system, really. I mean,
You're right there.
So let me ask you this, most of the events that we're funding have to hire city police officers. Can we ask the police department to submit a form when they're done with their detail on how many people they estimated to be at the event?
you can certainly ask, but I can tell you, I spent 5 years as a police officer, and I can almost guarantee you that you can ask every police officer that's out there that question, and each one of them will give you a different estimate, number one.
And when
Number two, it's very, very subjective, and we're tasking somebody who's there to protect the public with something that is really the event coordinator's responsibility.
Pictures, I think, is a good way. You
Well-
hope that if they're taking pictures, they're doing it at the prime of their crowd, so you can see the
Yeah,
crowd.
I mean, if you have an open access event, okay, then maybe what they need to do is a post-event survey of the businesses that that are within their boundary to see if there was an increase in sales. Maybe you measure it that way instead of head count.
Yeah, because head count can be a little bit.
I'm not big on head count because you can. How do you argue? the
Well,
point?
but I'm also approaching that from the point of view of setting a limit of 300 heads. If the goal is to bring recognition and to show Sanford in a great light, then it's not necessarily the amount of people that come to the event. It's also something to do with publicity. If you're going to have media there to cover the event, and you have a smaller crowd, that could be more beneficial than having a larger crowd with no coverage. So there's a lot of different variables that have to be taken into effect, or into account, rather.
Yep.
And you could have an event the first year that only gets 100, but it has the ability to grow.
Right.
One thing that you might want to consider too, just because the CRA doesn't fund a portion of an event doesn't mean that it doesn't come, okay? The problem is articulating a benefit to your investment, right? That doesn't mean that an event won't come, because this is obviously a beautiful place to have an event. And if it is only because of the grant that they come here to do the event, you have to wonder, where their heart is in the first place sometimes.
Well, how are you familiar at all with how other towns are doing it? Winter Springs, Castleberry?
Well, with regard to their events, they don't have the same approach to events that you have. For example, the 1792 historically has not been known for funding events of any kind, okay? But they did have a program in place at one time where they would consider funding an event, but the event was specifically to bring people to, like, job fairs. They wouldn't do anything unless it was to try to create an atmosphere where people could find jobs. There are others that mainly do like wine festivals, jazz festivals, things like that, where it's open access, okay, and there are sponsors involved. So there are musicians there, there are vendors there, and those are the kinds of events, not like this. This is where you're just trying to bring people to your area and the area benefits, right? So if what you're trying to track is how much benefit to your area, it's not going to be a head count. You're going to need to get a survey out to the people that are the retailers or restaurateurs to see if they experience an increase in revenue as a result of the event.
How about a survey of the people attending as well? Do you
Yeah,
think that would
there's
be
no
helpful?
reason, that's where your staff comes in. Okay, you don't have staff right now that can do
Sheena's
that.
going to every event now.
Sheena, I'm going to give you a
Sheena, get out there and
clipboard.
do it.
She's out there anyway, right?
I know.
But if you had someone managing your program, like I think you should, then that person is tasked with going out, surveying the community to make sure that there was an increase in revenue, surveying the people at the event to determine if they're, if it meets their expectation and those kinds of things. Because that's where the quality, that portion of the program management comes in. The quality of the event, the reputation of the event is really something only your staff can do for you. Because you can't rely on the event organizer to tell you that. That's something that you have to analyze yourself.
This is a good start, though. I like this
I
right
think
here.
so.
I like
Right.
the pictures. It's more than we've ever done, number one. And, unless Sheena wants to start going, she already goes to the events, we might as well just give her a clipboard and let her. TDC, when we used to do the Bike Fest and TDC was funding us, they actually sent out 2 people, if you remember this, Paul, they sent 2 people out that actually walked around with a clipboard and surveyed people. I'm not saying that we go that level, but that is some of the things that they had done.
I remember I volunteered for Live After 5 one night and I did a survey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Live After 5 is easy to track because they're not selling as many the ticket bands like they used to, but they were always easy to track on that. I think we start with this, and for you guys, take a look at this and see if you want to add anything on there. I think Sonia did a pretty good job at it.
I agree.
Reviewed it.
This last page, I'm making some recommendations on your grant application and your funding agreement. So take a look at that and determine whether or not you think those are good changes to make. And I think, like we talked about, it's a place to start. We certainly don't have to start here. We can make some changes to it and implement it as you see fit. But
Okay.
let me know.
I guess question for you, Jennifer, is that do we have to approve this as a group to start using this, or is this a back house kind of thing that we can just start doing it?
Yeah.
It's internal?
Exactly.
All right. Unless there's anybody,
Let's use it.
let's start using it. And the ones that, as of today on, are filling this out and going down this road, the ones behind, we can ask them to, we can't enforce it because we didn't push it on to them in the beginning. But
I would just make one suggestion on the part where it says number of registrants from outside Seminole County, is ask them to break it down by the other counties, Lake, Volusia, Orange County, so we know really where we're pulling from and what counties.
Wayne Dench does that for their movies.
And Live After 5 has done that. They've done a zip code survey
Yeah.
where they can break it down by counties.
the other thing that we've been very good at doing is making it very easy for them to get a lot of money from us with very little work.
Yep.
And I think we've spoiled a lot of the people. And to the sense where they come in, they sit down and go, event was great, and then they want to get up and leave. So I think we need to, at the end of the day, it is government money, and we need to make, if you're getting $4,000, you'd be doing a lot for a sponsor if they were giving it to you, so why are they doing it for us?
Right.
So, all right. Anybody got anything else on this? Thank you, Sonia.
My pleasure.
Moving on.
Not done yet.
Nope.
No, she's not.
One more
Nope,
thing, and
one
it'll
more
be
thing.
quick, because it's a draft of your annual report. Okay, your deadline is the end of March. So, it's done. But we do have to put a notice in the paper, and we have to post it on your website and make it available to folks. So take a look at it, because unless you have any proposed changes to it, the only thing I want to make sure is that the financials don't need to be updated. But other than that, Sheena was nice enough to complete, she put the pictures and everything, so it's been finalized. So, we
Should
did,
have had a
as best I could, I went through all of your agendas and your minutes for the year, the fiscal year, to see what you did. And so,
Just the wrong date.
2013 financial report. That was a good year.
Oh.
So the CRA members' information has been updated. Obviously, that needed updating from the prior year. Some of the pages don't need to change, obviously. The financial information came from your treasurer, so unless that needs to be updated, that's good to go.
Go back up to financial. Let me see what's on your proposal. Scroll down just a little. Keep going. Should that be the 2013 financial statement, or should that be the 2014?
It probably should be the name of the fiscal year. So,
We probably need to change that.
okay. Okay, so we'll change that.
We'll check it.
We got 2014, 15.
It's
Yeah.
14-15 fiscal year.
Yeah.
But it's from the previous,
But we don't do the same year.
financials come from the previous year.
Previous year.
So it would
should
be
it
13
say,
then?
do you want it to say 2014 or 20?
Whatever it's supposed to say.
Yeah, it should probably say 2014. 2015.
Have you given us 2015, Cindy?
That's what this is. It's the only one I've received, and she would have no reason to give me any prior years, so I'm pretty sure this is 2015.
Okay.
So we'll change that label. And then the rest of it, like I said, I used the same template that you had. I didn't think we had enough time to really get into changing all of the formatting and everything, so
Not yet.
all it has is what you actually did in the last fiscal year. And then some pictures and the latest information on the shuttle and contact information. So it's compliant. We had until the end of March to get it done, so unless you have any concerns. And you can always email if you have comments, so that way we can make any final edits. Okay, but other than that, if there's no change to it, we'll go ahead and post it.
And we have to approve that, don't we, as a board? Do we have
Don't-
to?
I-
No?
I've
Yeah.
never had my annual reports, let me just back up by saying this. For the CRA in US 1792 CRA, we provide the annual report to those folks that pay into the bucket. So it is from you
To them.
to them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you don't really have to approve it, but you do have to let us know if you want anything edited.
Gotcha. You know, when we were doing the extension, you had mentioned that Seminole County was wanting a little more of a reporting coming in, and they had said doing either quarterly or, twice a year, semi-annually reporting. And you were the one that was kind of talking about it, so obviously an annual report, but I don't think we've talked about doing any of that. And I don't, so should we be, or
You're not obligated to. You're not obligated to. If you wanted to, you could do something as simple as, what would really be something that you're already capturing. Because from this point forward, you should probably already have a running, like a database where you capture your new applications, whether or not they're approved, how much they got approved. And so really it boils down to pushing a button.
and sending it to you?
And sending it to, actually, for them, I am not tasked with monitoring the other CRAs. It actually would go to a person in finance.
Okay.
So I'm here if you have questions about anything, but I'm not really the person tasked.
Then they would let us know if they would like for us to come and make a presentation.
Yeah, then I
They won't.
sincerely doubt it
No.
because the finance person is only concerned with, that they know you're spending the money because they know what the deadlines are if you don't spend it and they can ask for it back.
Okay. So should we do that quarterly or?
You can do it quarterly, you can
You're
do
asking.
it,
I just know it came up, and the one thing I don't want to do is not address it and then let it come up again
They
if you
haven't
never
asked.
did it.
They haven't asked for it.
They never asked for it, but they always let you know you didn't do it.
Right, so, I think that you
That's what
have,
they do. Okay. All right.
your option at how often you want to do it. I wouldn't
Okay.
do it all that often, just because I don't think you really have to. But you're obligated to commit the money within a certain period and expend it within another. So if you have, like your budget would be one reporting cycle. You don't have to do anything fancy, you give them a copy of your budget.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing would be maybe, the annual report is
Annual
another
report.
one. So maybe you come up with a couple of interim reports that are just something very simple that could come from your finance
Okay.
folks to them.
All right. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward. Public hearing, approval of the grant for city cost for second annual Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K. Mr. Turk or Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, agenda item number 5 is the Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K run. The Department of Health is having their second annual Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K event. They are requesting $1,385.75 for city costs only. There is currently $548.07 available in the promotions account, so we would have to transfer funds into the promotions account to fund this. And Denise is here to answer any questions that you may have. They presented at the March meeting and did a fantastic job on their post-event report.
You would appreciate this
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
You
I
have
looked
copy?
at yours.
Alrighty.
Yes, yours is very good.
And we got
I should say theirs was very good.
It's the grant writer in me, so.
How are you doing?
We're good, down to the
Well,
wire.
Yes, ma'am. Floor is yours if you want to talk about your event.
Yes, and if you have not heard already, here are a few flyers for the 5K. Last year, we were very gracious that we had our first annual Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K, which we had nearly 500 participants. Nearly 300 of those were actual registered runners or walkers or joggers, those who just finished the 5K. This year, for our second annual Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K, we had the option to decide if we wanted to keep it here in Sanford or move it around the county. As you know, Seminole County was recently ranked the 5th healthiest county in the state, which is still great. So this 5K is the platform to recognize our two cities that are designated the healthiest cities in the county, which is the city of Sanford and the city of Oviedo. So at this event, we have the executive director from NACHO, which is the National Association for City and County Health Officials, coming from Washington, D.C. to the beautiful city of Sanford to recognize those two cities, as well as celebration of National Public Health Week. So this is a great event to promote the Riverwalk. This year, one thing we did different, the proceeds from last year, we offered a free boot camp, which was held at Fort Mellon Park every Thursday, and it was at no cost to residents from the proceeds from last year's race. So this year, we're looking to do that again. All proceeds from this 5K, as you know, we're the health department, we're the government, and not all mandates are funded. This event helps us to generate revenue to give back into the community for their health, wellness, and fitness, so that they're not always our client in our clinic.
Just to let the board know, on the agenda, it says not to exceed $1,590. However, the city cost came from Jennifer at $1,385.75. And because we are doing city cost, that is what we are recommending. But the board can change that.
I'm sorry, you're recommending 1,500?
We're recommending 13.
Because
Yeah, actual city
because
cost.
it
That's the
doesn't
actual
include
city.
trash cans or cleaning of Fort Mellon Park.
Oh, right, I'm sorry. That's where we got that additional number from, the $22 an hour. And so that's why it came up to $1,590. There we go.
And
Not
if
to exceed $1,590.
And if I might add, we will have a new cost associated, a course, which I also participated in, which was great. Their banner came down on Friday, and we had an opportunity to work with Public Works, and we have a street banner hanging now, which is an additional cost of $120, which was not included in the original application because the street banner space was not available, but we were able to get that this year.
How many registrations do you have right now for
Right
runners?
now, we have, I should have this number, I just left t-shirt place. We're at, I believe, 412, which I left the office, and that includes youth and adults. Our goal was 500. and I think we're going to run out of t-shirts.
You gave us some, you want it back? All right. Anybody got any questions for that?
So you really need $1,710 if I did that correctly?
Yes, and if I may add, the original application was one that we submitted. The requested amount was $3,635.75, which included sponsorship, but after seeing the great presentation, we know
Hold
that, yeah, we know that that's not available, but that additional cost included, which we also asked for last year, was $1,000, which would include a sponsorship to the 5K, and that includes your logo on everything. But I mean, it's at the City of Sanford. We put your logo on everything with the approval, recognizing the beautiful City of Sanford. This is the race shirt. And the other amount was for scholarship for 50 residents who could not afford the registration fee.
As you saw from the presentation, we've kind of pushed back onto just city costs.
Yep.
And even though it's city costs, the CRA still looks at it as a sponsorship. And so I think part of the criteria in the app is that they have to post the city logo, and I believe the CRA logo too, if I'm not wrong on that. So, all right. Anybody else have any questions? I'll leave the board for action.
Oh, and what I think Jennifer Brooks sent me an email for $1.25, which for our mobile health unit. We now have a mobile health unit that will be on site to provide first aid, and that charges for the traffic cones.
$1.25 for traffic cone?
It's $1. It was $1.25 per traffic cone to
Okay.
to bring down the mobile health unit.
Really?
All right. Leave it to the board for action.
I make a motion to approve a CRA event in the amount of $1,711.25, not to exceed that amount, for production of the second annual Live, Work, Move Seminole 5K event to be scheduled on April 9th.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we need to follow it up with a motion to move some money. And I know we stuck all of our money over into,
Okay, wait 1 second. Did we include the 125 for the cones?
No, it was like
It's $1.25.
Oh, $1.25.
That's not per cone.
I came up with,
I can't remember the exact amount, but it was, I think,
we're close in there. If it gets a few dollars extra,
Yeah.
y'all might just have to write a check to that.
it came to $15.90. I added $120 for the park.
Right, if it's $1.25.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was
$1.25.
$1.25 per cone.
but, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know how many cones are required.
I bet they should give them a cone.
We got you in the ballpark, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Where's my financial? All right, we need to move some money, guys.
Well, how much
We
we
moved-
add up to be?
Well, I think we just should do it on a
$5
per.
grand or something.
Yeah,
As
I
we
think
go.
should do it on a per, because it's not a guarantee that we're approving everything.
So we have to move $1,200.
Now, let's just go ahead and move that amount, that way we still have $500 in there. All right, so I need a motion to pull it out of, we put all our extra money that we carried over into Streetscape, because that was just a place we needed to stick it right then. That would be
Okay, so we want to move $1,700 then.
from
Streetscape to promotions.
improvements other than buildings, I believe is the coding, right? Yeah, so you're gonna make a motion to move $1,700 from improvements other than buildings to promotions.
Okay. I make a motion to move $1,700 for improvement other than building into promotions.
Have a motion, have a second?
Is
Second.
that 171125?
No, 17.
Just
We already have
1,700.
500 in there. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you all. See you
Good luck.
next
Thank you,
time.
guys. Look forward to seeing you for the post.
Yes.
I think you actually get to be the first person to fill out the post-event grant that you just saw up there, so congratulations.
Oh.
Information already, but just in case, there you go.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think coverage will be on the news tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Approve an event grant in the cost for city costs of moving the square. Ms. Ford, is this you again?
Yes, this is. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, agenda item number 6 is an event grant for city costs of movie in the square. Christine Dalton is here to answer any questions that you have. She is asking for an amount not to exceed $3,132. Christine?
Good afternoon, Chairman and board members. We started this event in May of 2015, and so far the event has been funded with funds from the Historic Preservation Fund, which is actually from monies that we take in for sidewalk cafes, A-frame signs, and merchant signs. When that fund was created, the intent of the fund was to provide a source for grant matches to other, to kind of build it. So if we take in $3,000 for the year, it could be used as a grant match and kind of double that. But we really wanted to revive the movie series. We had a movie series before that was in the residential areas, and we looked at this as a good way to bring people downtown and to actually show the family-friendly face of downtown on the weekends, and so that was the intent. We started this in May of 2015. We had an event in September and October as well, and then we started up again this year in March. So what I'm asking for is city costs for the rest of the year, and would like to see about coordinating with economic development for future events. So that would just be asking for the cost for 2016 and looking at other funding for the future. And I have some flyers for upcoming events and also some pictures of attendance from past events.
What has been the attendance?
It's varied. It's really with the movies, it's hit or miss because, for example, last Friday night we had a little rain earlier in the night, and some people thought it was just going to continue raining all night. So I would say we had about 125 people at the last event. From my count, it's hard to tell because what happens is we turn the lights off in the square when the movie starts, and a lot of people show up, 5-10 minutes. They're still setting up 15 minutes into the movie, so it's really hard to get a count. The October event, we had a really good attendance, and I would say we were pushing 300 or right at 300 for that event. And that was only the third one that we had. So as people learn of the event, I'm sure it's going to grow. But it's right there in Magnolia Square, so it's visible to everyone coming and going on First Street.
This is kind of where I was going before when I think this is actually a good example of where I was going before when I mentioned it's not necessarily always a head count that counts, because I've been to most of these, and I know that one evening when Christine was doing this, I was leaving the Imperial. As I'm walking down the street, I'm behind these couples, younger people, younger crowd, they're not from the area, and they were looking over, seeing the movie playing, saying, "Wow, this is so great, look at, these movies." And then I interjected and said, "Yeah, we do this monthly, and it's a great thing, this is kind of what Sanford is about, and we're coming back for this." So I think that needs to be part of the criteria that we look at too when we're funding events. What kind of image does it portray for Sanford?
And you can see with the selection of the movies, what we're really trying to do is portray a very family-friendly image where people really feel welcome to bring their children to the event. And Sheena's been to probably all of them as well, and she can attest to the kind of crowd that we get at the events. It is a very family-friendly crowd.
I've been to some that have been pretty busy and
You had great crowds at two of the movies you showed. That the My Girl movie, which was filmed here in Sanford, and then also The Money Pit, which was a great movie for those of us that live in Money Pit homes in the historic district. Yep.
I guess my first question would be this, is that at the end of the day, it's the same bank account for the most part. So if the CRA is funding it, but the city costs, is there not a way that each department has some money that they can put in there to do this? I mean, you're looking at $300 an event. Is $300 to $400 an event. I think it's a great event, I don't disagree on it, but, you know, if we were to do the per person criteria, which we have to do at 300, you know, it doesn't make it on some of them, but I think you've gotten there at a couple of them, so that would be that. But it just is odd to me that it can't be budgeted through the city, because it's a city event. You know, and so I guess that's where I'm a little bit, you know, like
I've
when we were
asked
doing
for
the
that
doors.
for 2 years and it was not approved for it. Mr. Bonaparte said that we could put this together if there was a way that the city didn't have to fund it. So that's why we used the money from the Historic Preservation Fund, but that was really intended to provide a grant match for other
Yeah, what kind of
opportunities.
grant match? I meant to ask that. What's a grant match?
That Historic Preservation Fund is for marketing historic preservation, so it was really intended to be geared toward heritage tourism. So you know the Pathways to Histories brochures that we have 2 printed so far, and there's 8 of that series, so there's 6 more to go with that. So there's, you know, National Trust for Historic Preservation, for example, has a $5,000 grant, but they require a match. So if we applied for $2,500 from the National Trust, and they gave us $2,500, so I need a dedicated source to apply for these different grants, and I don't have that right now. The only place I have that is through the Historic Preservation Fund, and as I said, that fund is created from you know, sidewalk cafes, A-frame signs, and merchant signs. We take a fee in for those annually, and so that's where the money comes from for that.
And you had mentioned this a minute ago that you were going to look to economic development to pick up the tab for next year. Is that what I was hearing?
In part.
How much does the cafe and how much money does it take in a year on the cafe and everything?
It really depends. It's growing as we get more restaurants and all come in, but sidewalk cafe permits are $150. A-frame signs is a $30 annual renewal.
So you're probably pulling about $1,500 to $2,000
Yeah,
a
it's
year.
not
if
a
you're
lot.
lucky.
I mean, how I have this much to be able to do this series initially is because we've built it up over a couple of years, so it keeps rolling over, but it gets depleted quickly. This event actually costs closer to about $700 because the city costs are $522, and then I have to pay for movie rights. We can't just show a movie. I have to actually get the movie rights. So
Oh, really?
we've been working with the Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center. They actually buy the rights for us, and then we pay them back because they get it at a much higher discounted rate.
What's the rights of a movie? Out of curiosity for me.
Well, through the Wayne Dench, the rights are running about $250, $275, $225,
Show the
depending on the
movie.
movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though
And-
you're not charging,
Yes.
you still have to
Yeah.
pay.
You have to buy the movie rights. Yes.
Huh.
And if we did it without the Wayne Dench, it would be closer to like 400. So they've been helping us out with that.
No kidding. Guess we ought to start showing older movies. Wow.
And when you buy the movie rights, you tell them one time you're showing the movie. So like if you have a rain date and you want to do it the following week,
Have to
you
pay
can't.
again?
Yeah. So
Really?
yes, it's very strict.
That's interesting.
I'll make a motion.
Well, she's asking us to do it for a year. I would much rather maybe see us do it through the fiscal year and see if other funding comes in rather than just going for the whole year. Because we would be going past the funding source and they wouldn't be giving us any money back.
So for the rest of 2016.
I mean, if you were going to,
Our fiscal year?
our fiscal year is October.
Yeah, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm referring to fiscal year. I mean, I'd like to see, I mean, it's a city event. It's no different than when we were asking for the doors and everything. I mean, it's coming to the same coffer. I know you're trying to find a funding source, and I can appreciate that.
That's what
If you're
she's asking for, $3,100 is through October, isn't it?
That takes you through the November movie.
The November movie.
That includes the October and November movie, that 3132.
We also have to also keep in mind, and I think it's a good event, I'm not against it, but the 300 members, I mean, you're going to have to track that. You're going to have to fill out the reports and everything and track that. And what if we're at 120 people? Then what do we do? I mean, that's not something that as a board, that's what our criteria is. So what do we do then? I know, I agree with what Mike's saying, but we still have rules we have to follow.
Then maybe we need to amend that criteria to include the overall benefit and exposure of
There's no way to
Sanford.
control that.
Yeah.
That's a arbitrary statement.
Is there any way to charge a minimum, like anything for people to participate?
It's not closed off, it's an open event, so they just show up with their chairs and they take us
Charge
out
for
wherever
each
it
chair.
would- Yeah. We
They
don't
bring
get,
their
they
own
have to bring
chair.
their own
Charge
chairs
someone
with
for their
them
own
and
chair?
set up
Yeah.
Well,
But we're not,
otherwise
put it
they can
down.
it's an
stand.
open event, we're renting the square, but we're not closing off the square, so.
Yeah, they're not supplying chairs for
No,
it.
no, I know.
I guess the other thing that gets in, this is probably going above the pay grade, but if you sit through the budget sessions of the city, every department always has money that's going into the reserve. I mean, it just floors me that as if it's a city event, that the departments can't come together and be able to make it happen. Each department, I mean, it's a very small amount. I mean, I'm
It's
not telling
taken
them how
me
to do
2
their
years
job.
to put it together to this point. I've even gone so far as my hours. I volunteer my hours. I donate my hours. I mean, I found the equipment which was missing in action. I've tried everything, so I'm not really sure, but I've gotten the no-go on any funds from within our department or elsewhere so far.
What about some participation from the vendors that surround the square?
Yeah, the restaurants, have you ever gone to them as well?
I've asked for sponsorship.
I know that's a tough one. I don't even know why I said
I've
that.
asked
I've
for
been down that road
sponsorship.
before. Okay. We haven't changed the criteria, but I think if we need, if you want to, if the board wants to go down the road of what Mike is saying, then maybe we approve a couple of them and then revisit the criteria. Because honestly, it's not meeting the criteria right now. So, but the last one had 300 people. I still think we need to help it, but we can't just change the rules because you guys think it's a great thing. We have to really do it the right way. I mean,
So you're proposing to fund,
fund 2 of them, give us 60 days to come up with more of a plan of what we're doing with events. I mean, we got to get a handle on it. We really need to
You
sit
gotta
down
have
and talk about
a
it.
budget, you gotta put numbers on how much you're spending.
We got to put numbers.
I
So
said that a few months ago, no one liked
yeah,
it.
no, I like it, and we're trying to move forward on finding what events are best for the city.
right?
And we are working towards that, but, you know, by our own rules, we can't approve this till October.
So would we need a post-event monthly then?
So they'd have to do that anyway.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, let's approve 2 right now, and she can do 2 post events, and we can, as a group, discuss what our criteria is gonna be for approving events, and then after that, she can come back and we'll see where it fits. And I think that's a fair thing to do. But I'll leave it up to you guys.
Well, I would like to see the whole thing. I mean, we're not talking about a great deal of money, but I also understand where you're coming from, Charles. And we had this whole discussion to open the meeting, that we need to get a handle on event costs and criteria. I think we might at some point need to revisit the criteria again for just what does an event bring? Is it only numbers, or is it quality of life and overall, perception of what Sanford is about?
And with that point too, we could have music, we could start a music festival and it could start out the first quarter, doing a monthly jazz, and it could only have
You mean we, the CRA, or somebody?
Well, no, just
somebody
in
else,
general.
thank you, somebody else, and or the city, or somebody from the city trying to do that. And it starts off with 50 people or 75 people until it starts to grow.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to give events a seed money to get it up and running.
Well, this isn't the first or second time movies have played though.
Well, it's relatively new, though.
But it is new in
Yeah.
the square. I mean, she's
Well,
only
it's a
been
neat-
doing
it's a
it
neat
for
event. Look,
4
I
or
think
5
that
months.
We have to get our criteria. We have to follow our own rules. We can't just bend our own rules because they don't fit.
No,
an
I
event.
agree.
So
I agree, because you
think
set a precedent.
I think the fair trade-off is approve 2, let her start the process, because quite honestly, there is no tracking. She cannot tell us how many people are there. I think if you approve 2, if we get a tracking, we take a look at our criteria and go from there.
Excuse me. Christine, would that work for you? Can you structure your budget that way to do a couple of these after post events, see how we are, what the activity is, and
Yeah, I could do that. One question we were just discussing was, this is for an event series, so are you looking at 300, the number for attendance at each event? Or are you looking at an average over the events? Because you do have the disadvantage, like I said, Friday night. We expected really, really high numbers, and then it rained like a half an hour before the event.
Right.
And, people said, oh, well, we didn't come out because we thought it was going to rain all night.
Actually, it rained at the event because
A
we
little
went
bit
undercover.
at the end.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I can tell you because I was there when Maria did the criteria, what we did quite a few years back, and it was per event. We did that because of Live After 5. We couldn't average, because if you average what a Live After 5 was bringing in at the time, huge numbers if they just added them all together. So we were looking at a per event, but we also took into account if it rains, you can't help that when you're doing 12 events during a year, you're going to have a rain out. But it was, we were actually, if I remember correctly, we were wanting to push at least 500, but we backed it down to 300 because of rain or something like that to give it a little bit of a wiggle room. So as far as to your point of budgeting, you're not changing it, you're not budgeting in this because it's not a budgeted item. This is an add-on for you, right? I mean, this is not something that's budgeted. This is something you're trying to get the money together to do the next one, to do the next one, to do the next one. So we can take care of 2 of them. And even though I know you're a city employee, we still look for everything post from everybody else because it is an event. It's an odd thing to do is to have a city employee come to the CRA for money. I mean, I'm not wrapping my hands around that one real well, but it is what we're doing, I guess.
Well, how will we determine the amount then?
Who's the check?
So this was for,
For 2 months, it's
Checks going to the
1,045, it's
city of Sanford?
522 something a month, 522.91, and I put it in there.
And
So
then
if
my
you're only
next-
gonna do 2, that's 1,045.82.
My next question, this is probably going towards Jennifer, is can the CRA write the city of Sanford a check for services? Can we do that?
Yeah, because you have.
We do it
We're
every
doing
day.
this for all the
yeah,
events
city
now.
services. It's, I mean,
No, but
We're
we're
doing
not.
it for
But
the
it's not the
event.
city. We're writing it. We're not writing. We're writing it to the city of Sanford because Brian's doing an event. Now the city's doing the event. Okay.
Departments
I just have a hard
to
time
make
wrapping my
fees
hand
to
around
other
this part. Yeah,
departments.
it's what it
Yeah,
is.
but we're paying
I know
the
where you're
city for
coming from.
streetscapes and
But
other
it's not the
things.
city as the applicant. The city is
sure.
an
Yeah.
applicant. to-
Celebrate Sanford was, right?
No,
No, that was,
that was totally never.
That was-
Just transfer money.
The one time that Celebrate Sanford was, the city paid everything.
transfer.
And they've never come to us for 4th of July.
They didn't need it.
Okay.
okay.
I'll leave the board
Well-
for action.
Are you,
I'll be happy to.
can
What was the
write
amount?
down the amount?
1,045.82 for 2 months.
Okay. Hang on 1 second, sorry. I move to approve a CRA grant in the amount of $1,045.82 for the production of the monthly movie in the square for the next 2 months. That's it.
All right, I have a motion. Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries.
And then I also make a motion
Yep.
to move
This is something we've got to do some housekeeping on this.
$1,100 from improvement other than building into promotions.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Alrighty. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, agenda item number 7 is the Celery City Elks Lodge, and they are requesting $829.96 for the parade that they will be hosting on Seminole Boulevard. Mr. Cunningham? Cummings, so sorry. Mr. Cummings is here to make a report on that. Okay.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. We are here asking for your grant to support our parade that we're planning on having in the city of Sanford. This is the first time that we've had a parade here, but this is about the 8th time that we've had our convention at the Lake Mary Orlando Marriott. We want to get the people away from out there to bring them downtown. Our lodge sits on Sarah Avenue, been there for about 87 years. So we want to get them away from Lake Mary area and bring them to the city of Sanford. We thought the best way to do it is by having the parade downtown Sanford Avenue, First Street. You know, come from Sanford Avenue up to Oak Avenue. We'll be having, let me say this here. I can't say how many people will be actually walking in the parade, most of our adults numbers now are 50 or above, so we'll be renting quite a few cars in Sanford. I do have some figures on what loan cars will be costing, because we got people coming from 30 different lodges, and that's 30 different cities here in the state of Florida. We also have people coming from Philadelphia. Our granddaughter Lula's coming from Philadelphia. And Brother Dennis, our grand secretary, he'll be coming from the Memphis, Tennessee area. So we have people coming from out of state as well to get a chance to come downtown and see what Sanford is all about and get away from the Lake Mary area for a while.
How many people go to your convention?
Approximately about 500.
And everybody at the convention will be coming to the parade?
Hopefully, will be quite a few of them, because we're going to have a conference meeting. If we get this grant today, we're going to have a conference meeting within a week, and we'll be asking people how many cars are going to come and stuff like this. So far, I've sent to ROTC from Seminole High School to see if I can get them to bring the flag and stuff down. I've called Hamilton Elementary School to see if I can get their band in there. Also Midway Elementary to see if I can get their band in there. He's from the islands. They got the guys that come down and do the Jumbo. Junkanoo. And that's about 30, 40 people coming from Daytona and the Bahama area to be coming here to do their thing. I'm the Florida Brigade Commander. That's over the Alpha Guard Department, which is more like the military department. I have 240 people in the state of Florida within the Alpha Guard Department. Out of that 240, if I can get 20 of those to March, I'll be doing good. I do have a queen. I will have a convertible car for her to ride in. But actually say how many people will actually be marching, I cannot say. But we're looking for at least half of that 500 people, along with people already here in Sanford. And we have it on the internet. We're getting it out to all the city of Sanford. We'll be in Sanford Herald. Put it on 1400, 94.5. Also 106.3. We'll be getting it out advertising and stuff to try to get people downtown Sanford.
Is it just, it's on the waterfront, correct?
No, we're going to come down First Street.
Oh, First Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because
Why did
I
think
thought it said
Seminole?
Seminole.
Yeah, I did too.
No,
Okay.
it's starting at Sanford Avenue and First Street,
Okay.
coming down to Oak Avenue.
Okay. I thought that's what.
Yeah, I thought I saw Seminole.
Downtown
I
Sanford.
thought I read it. That's okay.
Very short and very quick.
Coming downtown, First Street.
Now, is it just a parade? That's it? I mean, is there any other vendors or nothing else like
No,
that?
sir. No, sir.
So it's just a parade?
Yes.
So you're going to get people from Lake Mary, I'm
Yes.
assuming down by the Marriott,
Yes.
and they're going to, how are they going to get here?
Most of them going to be driving their own vehicles and stuff. Like I said, a lot of them going to be renting cars, so they'll be going out there to Advantage and to Thrifty and Dollar Room. They'll
And-
get in the car.
And what time of the day is this going to be?
From 11 o'clock to 12.
So then they can go to lunch.
Someone is having something here that morning, and we'll be coming in after them. We have an open session, which will be inviting Mr. Bonaparte, Mayor Triplett, their representatives, Mr. Islinger, Chief Smith, all will come out to the convention. We have our open session at 8 o'clock in the morning. Last year, our open session was over with at 9:05, so they have from 9:05 to 11 o'clock to get from Marriott here, get the cars decorated and everything. So we have a 2-hour lean there. Which from my house, I live on 20th and Sumner, from my house to the Marriott is about 22 minutes. Normal driving with traffic and lights.
Your traffic is 30. Other than the people at the convention, what else is the draw to bring more people to see the parade?
Correspondence, communication, advertising. We really want people to see what the Elton is all about. And they'll be coming back, we have reserved with Marriott for the next 3 years. We'll be coming this 2016, 17, 18. We was here 6 out of 7 years prior to that, and they want to stop coming to Sanford. They want to go somewhere else. We're coming to find out when they start going to these other cities. But we was getting rooms out there for $80-some a night. When we went to St. Augustine first, it was like $108 that year. Last year we was in Tampa, the room was $118 a night. Let's go back to our headquarters, which is Sanford, for our convention, our state convention. So we spend quite a bit of money here because they have to eat. We gonna be here from that Thursday up until that following Wednesday, so quite a bit of money to be spent here in the city of Sanford in this area.
Anybody else got anything? Any questions for the applicant? I'll leave the board for action.
Are they going to be visiting your lodge over here?
Yes,
or-
sir. Yeah, Tuesday night they'll be coming over for, almost what you said, bye-bye party.
I'm sorry, they're going to, how?
That Tuesday night, we have, social session. So everybody leave the hotel and come over to the lodge and spend that night. We have, free
And
drinks
that
and free
is-
food. That's that Tuesday
And
night.
again, what was the day of the
May
parade?
14th. May
Parade
14th.
is the 14th.
May 14th is the event.
And that's after they're coming down to the lodge?
Some of them will stay here for a while and then they get back to the hotel because we're in convention about 3 o'clock that afternoon. We'll be back like that because they have our oratorical contest and this is where we get our students to get ready for their scholarship education department.
May 14th is a Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Saturday the 14th.
Saturday the 14th.
Tuesday to Saturday.
And we are members will leave that hotel and come over to the lodge each night they are there. Decoration purposes.
They come downtown and show.
They be downtown. We have people love to go to our seafood. They love the seafood here in San. And now we got a brother without the name. They think he's
Bubs.
opening up a new restaurant out there on 25th Street now. And we definitely gonna be advertising that because every time I look at my Run Dix's receipt, I see Nathan, steak in the house there. So they want to know where can they come and get a good meal and stuff like that. So we always send stuff. Quite a bit of money to be spent doing those 6-7 days there.
And you've done this before, I'm assuming. I don't remember this.
Not a parade. This is
Not
the
a
first time
parade.
doing a parade.
We did
So
a
you
parade
haven't-
in 2002.
That was our last
That's
parade.
before my
Last time
time.
we had was in 2002.
Did you get on First Street then as well?
Yes, we came down.
The
first.
same
Same thing.
distance that we have now.
Yes.
So you haven't approached the city before, or the CRA for funding on
No,
your
that was
events?
our first time.
This is our first time.
Yes, he had a
So we
video
wouldn't have a
of the parade
post
we did
event,
in
we
2002.
have no track record of this either.
Nope. They haven't done it since '02.
No,
the parade part.
2002 when they had the last
Yeah.
parade.
How many people were there, know too?
Oh, quite a few. We were much younger. Like 13 years ago. We had 3 or 4 floats and everything. Then it took 13 from 73. I was only 60 years old at that time, so I could walk 2 or 3 miles. I can go down that lake for 4 or 5 times and back. Now I take all I can to go and come back from Millenville to the hospital. But no, this is much younger than, like I said, with the else we're getting older. Our membership is really getting older, so it's more a ride now for us than it is walking. We also have the Bo-Key bikers, they'll be in there, and their number gonna be 20, 30 deep.
Bokeer promoting this as well?
Yes, sir. They're gonna be a part of it. We
Okay.
invited them to be a part of it, and
Well, you're guaranteed 150 to 200 people with that group. If they're just
they'll
taking
be
it
there.
easy.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We usually have a good parade. It's a community thing. Community is together.
All right. Anybody got anything else? I'll leave the board.
Looking for the amount here.
840.
Over there. it's
829.96. Yeah.
Well, does anybody else have any ideas? Or? I'm going to make a motion then. I'm going to move to approve funding for the, what do I call this?
Service to the Florida State Association Health
It's not
Parade.
listed there?
It's at the top.
It's at the bottom of agenda item number 7, at the bottom.
You got a suggested motion right there.
Okay.
That you can
I
see.
move to approve an event, funding grant in the amount of $829.96 cover city costs for the 2016 Celery City Elks Lodge Parade.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? You want to say something?
No.
No, I thought you were. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to you guys.
Really appreciate it.
You're going to be the second recipient of the post-event paper to fill out, so they will get that to
More
you.
than glad, and-
Welcome aboard.
You want to make a motion to move money?
Yep, I'm waiting on that.
And if this is a big success, we'll be back here at the same time next year.
Fair enough. We look
Thank
forward
you
to
so
seeing you.
very much. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Have a good day. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to move $1,000 from the improvement other than building to promotions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, was that Mr. Yeba or Volk, that second?
I think they both
I
were on,
second.
but I heard both.
Oh, you seconded too?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I acknowledge Brian, but I think they both said it at the same time.
So take your pick.
All right, moving on. Number 8, approval request for an additional CRA district lead maintenance. Is this Bob or Sheena?
It's Sheeta. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, agenda item number 8 is approval for the CRA funding for one maintenance worker in the Parks and Grounds Operations Division of Public Works. Currently, we have one employee that does the Parks and Grounds operations, and we have Mark Holstein and Robert Bell.
Hey, guys.
Mr. Chairman.
Welcome back there, Mr.
Thank
Holstein.
you.
I thought you retired.
Yeah,
He
you thought-
did.
I was getting tired of
He's a
hearing
glutton
that,
for
I guess.
punishment.
I'm back, and I'm enjoying it, so,
Is it better the second time?
yeah, it's pretty good, I can't complain. We're here before you today to request some funding and a little background on what you've done for us so far. I believe it was fiscal year 09-10, the CRA funded the lead maintenance worker, and that currently is about $41,750 to maintain the landscape and the amenities along Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the streetscape on First Street. Since then, the streetscape areas have grown to include Park Avenue from Commercial to 3rd, 2nd Street from Oak to Sanford, Magnolia Avenue from 2nd to 3rd, Palmetto Avenue from 1st to 3rd, Sanford Avenue from 1st to the end of 6th Street block. We have other factors that motivated us to approach the CRA, including increased use of these areas, new businesses opening up, as well as an increased number of special events, weekend business patronage, and they add to the challenges, the use of the areas, the wear and tear on the landscape and the amenities, the park benches, everything there. We're requesting that we would be funded for a maintenance worker, not a lead maintenance worker, and not to exceed $36,000 annually. These areas require a higher degree of maintenance compared to the other areas that we have that we're responsible for, and there's also a greater aesthetic expectation in these areas as well. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So they would not be helping along Sanford Avenue as well?
Oh yeah, don't I have Sanford Avenue on there?
No.
The last one, Sanford Avenue from 1st to 7th.
Oh, up here, okay. It's not in the motion. Okay.
Anybody want to go first?
Just his
Go ahead.
first report.
When you guys were doing your budgets for the year, I mean, we just didn't build this stuff last Thursday. It's actually been out there for a while. Was there not a need for it then that we saw when we were doing budgeting?
There's been the need. We've even requested in our budget for additional assistance, along with the Riverwalk, other projects that we put on within the city. With our budget, it's not in there to add the additional staff.
Some of the things that required of us, and it's not only the special events, it's just the increased business patronage downtown adds to trash and debris that is gathered over the weekend. And if we don't bring people in on the weekends, like Sunday morning, Saturday morning after Friday night, Sunday morning after Saturday night, and even doing that, we still receive some concern from the business owners about the amount of trash that are in our trash containers and things like that. So we have experienced an increase in demand, as it were, for our services.
I don't disagree on that. I just don't know that I agree that the CRA should be paying for another employee. I don't
Yeah.
see that.
Now, this is to maintain improvements that CRA has funded and promoted, correct? Basically?
It's a CRA district.
So at what point does CRA turn over the improvements to the city?
Once it's completed is where it's been at
Then-
that point.
Then now, I mean, if we make an improvement, then it's up to CRA to maintain the improvements for the city? Because that'll run out when we have a sunset.
Well, we do the
We'll run
annuals.
out before that because we'll run out of money.
Right.
I mean, we do the flowers every year.
Correct. You do.
So, I mean,
Do
you
the
know,
landscaping.
We already pay for one
annuals.
employee down there.
We're paying for the landscaping in Magnolia Square.
We pay for the annuals. I don't know how far that carries out. You guys would know better on that. I'm assuming the annuals are all around the stop signs and everything. It might
Okay.
carry
All of
in.
the intersections, first,
For
second,
the annuals, okay.
I don't think it goes
and
in the
along the Riverwalk as well.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't this be part of the Parks and Recreation budget?
That's what I asked.
We're just as strapped as other divisions and departments, so we're looking to supplement the services that we already provide, and without having to pay comp time or overtime or things like that, which is what we end up doing in order to keep the expectations at least on a competent level.
I understand where you're coming from on that. I'm just concerned that if we're going to start taking this position, that we'll find ourselves in the same position as far as being strapped. I mean, do we have that allocated in our budget at all for?
No,
So we're currently funding an employee.
we have been since.
41,750, and
yeah.
now you're looking at another 36,000. So we're almost at $80,000 to maintain what we're building.
And I can be honest with you guys, if we were going to fund another employee and get into the 80,000, I would pretty much have a recommendation for somebody other than that. So I just don't know that this should be in our wheelhouse. I mean, I understand there's a need, but you know.
You want me to pick up the trash?
I'm sorry.
I can pick up the trash.
Ms. Sonia, how would this be perceived from Seminole County's point of view?
We pay to maintain a lot of the improvements we actually fund.
The CRA,
It's typically-
1792 CRA?
Yeah, and it's typically a part of the initial request, so we don't fund employees, but we fund, many times we hire contractors and pay for the maintenance, and then we know that after the sunset, it has to be assumed by.
And that's written in your plan.
Yes, the maintenance of these things
That's another thing. This
is,
isn't in our plan.
Right.
This is not
So
even in
again,
our
that
plan.
kind of goes
Am I right
towards
on
what
that,
I'm
John?
asking.
yes, it
If
is.
Seminole County, if we're justifying, or we're trying to justify an expenditure like this, would Seminole County say, wait, we didn't give you the money for that?
No, they wouldn't do that because they're going to let you manage your program, okay? But what I can tell you is what we've done in the past, as they are the board that approved these things, they understand that maintenance is part of the responsibility you may have to take on for some improvements. But typically, it's requested at in a different way. Instead of staff, it's requested as.
Contractual services.
Right. That's how we have handled it in the past. Staff time is not something that the county normally comes to the CRA for.
So should this go back and be reproposed in a different way, or?
Well,
I guess
can
the
only
end
speak for
result's the
myself.
same.
I can only speak for myself. I just don't know that we should be funding that.
I mean, don't we
just
really
don't.
need a maintenance person to pick up after a special, the day after a special event? Because the event itself is already paying for the city for the trash.
Well, but this isn't for a special event or after an event. This is for
Right, so we need
year-round.
somebody Saturday and Sunday and the day after an event.
Well, they already have somebody that goes around on the weekends. You have a staff member that drives that little truck and picks up trash,
But
correct?
he's at our parks with the restrooms at it, he does not do the downtown area. We do not have staff, we have pretty much a 7-day operation with staff that only works 4 days a week, with the 10-hour days. So we're missing those additional 3 days.
Well,
And
are
we've
you
gotten,
guys?
we've gotten recent requests to have staff come in and do the work. We just don't have the staff to make available for it. So we're having to pull guys off of crews to come in and work overtime or work the weekend to help with the cleanup.
And that
A lot of times, just the one lead maintenance worker that you currently pay for, we come in, we bring staff in to do, especially before a big event, to do a once-over downtown and try to catch up what we need to. As I mentioned before, there's a lot more intricate landscaping involved. It's a little bit more high maintenance than some other areas. So it's a little more meticulous and it takes more time to accomplish.
Oh, y'all do a phenomenal job on keeping it clean and coming up for events. I mean, I think a few of us here have seen that. And I don't disagree on the fact that you probably need somebody else helping up to clean it up. I just don't know that we're the funding source for that. I mean, I don't know if we should be the funding source on that.
Do you have a funding, do you have a contracted service that does any sort of landscape?
No,
For the
we'd have
city?
to hire.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then,
And
you
we
know,
haven't looked at that option.
I would think also that with budget starting in June for doing your budget and everything for coming up for the next year, that if there's a need, that the city officials would see that there's a need for that and would allocate funds and allow it to be in the budget. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I just don't think this is something the CRA should be paying. I just don't know that that's our wheelhouse. And plus now we're taking on another 36,000.
Right.
And, you know, and obviously that would go up, you know, if there's raises or something like that. Not that that happens often. You know, we're kind of in a limbo right now with the Torres group coming in on the speed and the Catalyst site and everything going on, and really not knowing where all our money is going. You know, I don't know. I'll leave it to you guys. I don't think it's a very good idea. But I'm one person, so if somebody thinks different, might want to chime in and make a motion. If not, I guess it'll die on the table.
Just table it or something, so.
I don't want to table it and give false hope if we're not thinking about it. I mean, at some point you just have to say no.
I tend to agree with you on this. I just don't know that we're the funding source for this. I'm going to make a motion. I move to deny funding for lead maintenance worker in the amount of $36,000 to maintain landscape amenities along Phase 1, Phase 2 First Streetscape project.
I second the motion.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to y'all. Hope they fund it for you. Thank you. Sorry.
Consideration.
No problem.
We have, maintenance is something that we fund for 1792, and we've
All right.
always funded it. So we do it for lighting, we do it for landscaping, we do it for, we pay the light bill for the lights that we added to the corridor.
All right, so facade grants, can we put these two together, even though they're different
Yes,
addresses?
we're gonna do that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have agenda item number 9 and number 10. Leslie, do you want to come up to the table? This is for 301 East First Street and 309 East First Street, and this is for the canopy. And in the agenda packet, you have the 3 quotes. It has also been approved by the Historic Preservation Board. However, Christine is here because there are some
Stimulating.
Is Christina gonna be talking on it?
Something about the air
Are you
conditioning.
talking on this, or are you just here to observe?
Well, I haven't seen the estimates, so I don't want to have another debacle like we've had in the past where you all have approved something based on that staff or HPV approved it when I have not actually seen with my own eyes the estimates, and I do not know what the scope of work is in those estimates.
Have you signed off on it with your own signature?
On what?
We were gonna have anything that was under HPB, you were gonna sign off on it before it
Mhm.
became us, has
I
that
haven't
happened?
signed off on anything. I have the Historic Preservation Board approval and what they approved.
But you haven't signed off on it? And the reason I'm asking is, the last time we had it, we actually made a place that you're gonna sign it before it comes to us, and if you have not signed off on it, it cannot come to us.
I have not been presented with any paperwork to my knowledge to sign off on.
Wait.
So-
Sheena?
But, okay, because I'm getting confused here, because the paperwork was brought to you and you said that it was approved, but there are some stipulations that we have to follow, but it was okay to be presented to the board. That's what was said to me.
HPD has approved the repair of canopies, but I have not yet seen the 3 estimates or the scope of work, which is what happened in a previous situation where my statement was that HPD approved the scope of work, but then I had never seen the
Why,
scope that was presented to the CRA.
well, why would you have to see an estimate though?
She has to know what the work's gonna be
How
done.
this
What's
happened
done,
last
not a
time
price
was-
though.
I
The
wasn't
scope of
given
work
a
is-
copy.
Well, the
Scope of
scope,
work. Yeah.
not price.
I gave her.
Exactly, okay, scope of work.
Well, she hasn't reviewed it yet.
I don't
That's it,
have
yeah.
the 3 estimates. No, I have not seen that. What I have is what HPD has approved.
So you have a certificate of appropriateness for what was presented to HPB
To HPB.
that HPB made judgment on, or an opinion on.
Correct.
This has been before HPB?
Yes.
And a development order has been issued with conditions.
Then would it be a formality for you signing off on it, or you, before you feel comfortable signing off on it? I have no problem with you seeing the, after what happened before, so we don't go down that same road. Really, we put a safeguard in place not to end up in that position again. And if that safeguard has not been met, where I know you're here and I think this is a good project, and I don't think you'll have any problem with the facade grant, but the criteria for us to approve it has not been met. And I don't know,
That's ridiculous.
I don't disagree with you on this,
No,
but
because it was sent, and the agenda packet was sent as well. And I spoke with Christine, and I walked Leslie down to the department to go over this. So we did not drop the ball.
I didn't say you dropped the ball.
I'm saying we didn't.
No, I'm just saying that it's not signed off on.
If there's any paperwork that I need to sign off on, I have never been given a piece of paper that I have to put my signature to. So until I see that,
Well, let me ask you this
What
question.
certificate of appropriateness was not
Well,
signed?
that's what happened last time. They had a COA, but the scope of work they presented to the CRA was different than what they got
Right.
approved for. So
Two things. Number one, this is not the place to have this conversation. Conversations like this need to happen outside of this meeting. This was brought to us, and I asked the question prior to it coming here, did you approve this, and is this okay? I was told that you approved it with some conditions. I believe some of them were the air conditioning units that when they need to be repaired, that they would come off the roof and that they would change. So to have this back and forth here, this is not the place to have it. So either you approve this project or you don't. But going back and forth is not going to happen in this meeting at all.
I think maybe what we're doing is a miscommunication on words. We're asking for a signature versus a...
We're asking for an approval. We're asking
So
for
sign
Christine-
off is
for
not
Christine
is a
Dalton to
literally
say
is not.
She approves this project.
I
We
cannot say I approve something that I have not seen exactly what the scope of work is.
I was
Yeah,
under
this-
the impression when these applications came that Christine was getting the application from day one to look at everything. That's my interpretation was when the applicant fills it out, that she gets all the estimates, she gets the scope of work and everything else and then can sign off on it.
Were these in the packet when you walked it down with the
Yes,
applicant?
yes, it was, because before, when Leslie came to me to turn in the application, I had to walk her down, and then that's when we were told, because it was supposed to come to the meeting prior to this. And then Christine explained that it could not, and it needed to go before HPB to get approved.
But it has gone before HPB.
Yes, it has.
And HPB has given
Right.
it.
And then the packet was sent out, and it has this. And then Christine sent me an email, and she said that she needed a copy of it to review, which she was given. And then she said that it was approved, it just needed to have, there were some conditions. And I have the conditions here.
Haven't we been down this road before as far as scope of work and whether it can be sent out, not sent out, something like that?
No, we can't control the scope of work.
We don't do that.
We,
Right. Well, I mean, I understand that, but I'm just saying, for some reason, I think we've been here before, either that or it's
Yeah, we
deja
were
vu.
here before. We were here
But
before.
but regarding the scope,
that's
regarding
where
the
that-
scope of work, because that's where things got messed
we
up
can't
before.
control.
Because the
We
scope-
can approve this, but if she does something different than's approved by the city, we don't have control.
Okay.
They
We
won't
don't
be
have
paid.
control of that. That falls back into HPB, it falls into P, it's not
It
us.
falls into S codes.
It goes into everybody
So-
else but us. Our thing was is that because of what happened the last time and with the back and forth, we wanted to make sure that we had all our T's crossed and
Well,
our
here's my
I's
concern. Here's my concern, is when we issue money or funding, or we approve something, we're approving it based on a C of A. Now, if the applicant doesn't follow the guidelines of the S codes,
They won't get paid.
that's all I really care about at this point, myself.
I'll be happy to read to you what the approval is, and that is what all I can comment on is what the board approved, and if it matches what you all have in front of you. But I'm not gonna answer the question of, you all are looking at a paper asking me if this is approved, and I don't have that paper in front of me.
I understand that.
So on March 16th, the Historic Preservation Board approved a request to repair the historic canopy awning. The approval notes that existing air conditioning units may remain as part of the repair. When these air conditioning units fail and replacement is required, the new units may not be placed on the awning. The addition of new air conditioning units may not be approved as part of this awning repair. All permit drawings must reflect the existing air conditioning units only and remove references to additional air conditioning units on the awning. And I did forward the development order to Sheena, so if you want to base your approval on the HPV development order, that might be safe.
That's in this packet.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
The other things don't really, I mean, the air conditioners, am I correct in thinking I just heard you say that when they need to be repaired, she has to move them? When they have to be
Cannot
replaced?
stay up top.
Right.
It's in the development order, she can keep the existing units until they're past their life cycle. When they have to be replaced because they're past their life cycle, they cannot be, there cannot be new units on it. So as long as these are working, they can stay out there, but the HPD will not allow for new ones to be installed in any way.
Temporarily supportive AC units during replacement.
But we wouldn't oversee that anyway.
Right.
So pretty much everything that's coming before us on a facade grant, you're okay with, correct? The rest of the
just-
stuff is the back end stuff that we would never be part of to begin with.
I am reading to you what the approval from HPD was. So the Historic Preservation Board approved the repair to request the canopy, and those were the conditions. So
And as long as she does it within the S codes, then, and what was approved by HPV, there shouldn't be a problem.
the development
Right.
order is in your packet.
So do you sign, as it stands now, when the applicant is done, do you sign off on it that it's done and meets the criteria of the
Yeah, at the end of the
CMA
project.
before the permits are issued?
Per the development order,
Yes.
before they final the permit, we have to say that whether it complies with the
HPV?
development order
Okay.
or not.
All right.
Okay.
So that's our assurance. But
So-
here's
No, she has
one
to.
thing that I have a concern about. I believe I remember I was at that meeting for this application, or for this building, 301. Aren't there fines on this building, there are outstanding fines, are there not?
I don't think that affects us anyways.
I think it, but I think it might.
May I address that?
Yes.
I checked that, and there are no fines. There are no outstanding fines. Russ checked it, and so did Chris Smith in the planning department. There were some issues several months ago that were corrected. There
Okay,
are no
so
outstanding fines.
there's no liens, no fines from
No,
the city or
no,
anything?
no.
Because the one thing I don't want to see happen is paying the city back for an applicant that hasn't taken care of past code violations. Are there
I have
code
taken care of
violations?
all the code violations.
Okay,
All the
perfect.
code violations.
Very good.
I guess where I'm getting a little confused here is that, I know you're the representative for HPB, but your title at the city of Sanford is what?
Historic Preservation Officer and Community Planner.
So everything that she's doing falls under you, correct? And when we're asking you to guide us in a direction to making sure that we're making a proper approval of a grant, that's within your scope of work, correct?
Within my scope of work is to tell you what the Historic Preservation Board approved, and if what's being presented to you matches what the Historic Preservation Board approved, then that's what we're looking at. If you want to hand me your packet and have me look at it with my eyes, I will, but I'm not going to say I recommend approval on something that I'm not looking at.
All right,
You pulling yours out?
let's table this
There we go.
until another one, and get some other ones done, and then we'll come done with this.
While she's doing that, you want to move on?
Yeah, we're
Can I
gonna,
go ahead and address this at
Let's-
all?
well-
So you can hear the story?
yes ma'am, go ahead. That's fine.
I am now taking over the responsibility of the building. My husband is a terminal patient. I'm a caretaker for him, so he's been doing it in the past, but now I'm doing it. We are doing corrective work on the existing canopy. We're repairing it and replacing any rotted wood or anything that's, in deplorable shape. I've hired an architect to do the shoring. It's shored up right now. I've hired a structural engineer. He walked the plank. I've had several people look at the facility, look at the structure. The structure is sound. It just needs to be repaired and renovated. We're not going to replace the structure. It still has some good bones to it. But I had the structural engineer. I already bought the tongue and groove that goes underneath. It's in storage. And that cost me over $20,000. So I'm ready to go with this project. I just need authorization, a little financial help, and we're ready to move. I have a contractor ready to go. As a matter of fact, he just called me this morning and said, when are we moving? I said, we can't do anything until the grant is approved. So that's where I am right now, and I want to get this project started as quickly as possible. It's kind of an eyesore right now with the shoring there. So the sooner you can get it done and moving forward, the faster I can get it done myself.
Yes ma'am.
And I think it will really beautify the downtown area once it's finished.
I agree with you. We are just making sure that from our standpoint, that we don't have something on the back end to deal with. That's why
Correct,
we're
and
going through
I
it.
fully understand that.
I do apologize that you're having to sit through this. This should not be the way it is, but needless to say, it is. So we'll just take the lemons and make lemonade out of it and get this taken care of.
I understand.
I don't know, I'm kind of concerned about setting a precedent. I'm not saying this would apply to you, ma'am. And I'm not saying you're not a good steward of the building. But you've owned the building for how many years?
About 18 years.
About 18 years. And in that time period, the building fell into disrepair and now is in need of repair. So
Well, I wouldn't go
what
that far
incentive
as far
are,
as
well,
total disrepair. There were some things that were
but it needs,
corrective work.
the canopy itself needs to be repaired. And so are we going to find ourselves in a position of making repairs to buildings that have been occupied by an owner for a number of years just to make repairs?
Well, it's a facade.
That's a facade, that's what we're here for.
That's what we do.
Facade, that's what it's for.
I mean, if maybe they didn't
Well-
have the financial whereabouts to do it 10 years ago. personally, from a CRA standpoint, we don't care when they do it. If they do it, it's when, it's fine. If they didn't apply for it before, they're not mandated to come to us to do a facade grant.
I'm just used to people that are moving into the area that are taking a piece of property, making improvements to start a business and things
That's
like
what
that.
she's doing too. She's
Yeah.
rehabilitating a building that's
Right.
been in need
I'm
of
renovating a building,
rehabilitating.
historic building.
And on top of that, I think it plays right into the fact that if your neighbor's making their place look better, it makes you want to do it as well. And we seem to be setting a pretty good precedence down there. Look at Sanford Avenue, look at everything we've done. It's making people who normally, where the norm was to have your building look like that and get the rent you can, that's no longer the norm now. Now we're raising the bar. So the fact that she's here means that it's working, and we're glad to see her.
Okay.
Charles, can you give me a minute? I'd like to talk to Shane and Bob and Christine outside.
Yes, sir. What we're going to do, oh, yeah, we've taken the whole group. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
What about, don't we have another?
Well, you don't have half our people here.
No, table it until,
We don't have our people
We're at
here to
recess.
carry on. We're at recess. We got to
I'll
have
be
Sheena,
back
our
in
secretary,
3
here to
minutes.
do anything.
oh, they all left.
They all left.
I didn't know, so Bob took off.
I'm going to get up and stretch.
Take 5 minutes. Yeah. Can we turn the recorder off during the recess, or we like to leave it on? Turn it off, Carl. Yes, I am. That's good. I know how to do it.
I'm sorry there was a disconnect with the information.
That's okay. It's not your fault at all. You do not owe an apology whatsoever.
I'm very embarrassed.
No, you don't need to be, actually. I know that
You should.
City of Sanford Community Redevelopment Agency, continuation.
All right, we'll call the CRA meeting back to order. Where are we at, guys? We'd like to hear this facade grant. Is there any reason why we shouldn't?
No, there's not.
All right.
I didn't hear what you said. I apologize.
No.
There's no reason why we
Okay.
can't hear it. You know, it was approved by the HPV,
Okay.
and that should
Alright.
be sufficient. So they will have to go through inspection. They'll have to get approved for what they will be putting on there.
Right.
She knows that.
Okay.
We'll go through the permitting process.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You can go ahead and give us, I know you started your presentation, I think we cut you off, but go ahead and give your presentation, and if the board has any questions for you, we'll start moving forward on this.
Yeah, like I said, I hired an architect to do the shoring, and they did a very good job doing that. I hired a structural engineer to come in and do the design for the structure. He did that. He is going to follow it through the construction process. I have a contractor that's waiting in the wings to start. Just finalizing the contracts with him, probably this week. But, you know, like I said, I want to repair it and renovate it to the point where it looks really nice. And it's going to be a nice facade for First Street. I already purchased the tongue and groove to go under the underside. And I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to go. It's been long overdue. And I know we've had some issues and some problems along the way with the drains.
Mhm.
The drains were a big problem because I didn't have a problem before the roof until the city came in and redid the drains for me. And they look nice. They're copper drains. But they are smaller drains than what I had. So I had a lot of water collecting in those areas that the city put those drains, and the collection of water where the water stayed infiltrated to the metal and causing a lot of the roof to rot. And that's one of the reasons I have to repair and renovate the entire roof.
I remember some of that. I was asking
Yeah.
questions on that earlier.
And I think one of my engineers came to you and discussed that because the drains were smaller than were originally there.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, it's a little give and take. I mean, I'm not complaining about what the city did. I'm thankful and I appreciate what you've done. The copper pipes look great. Yeah, it looks real nice. But, you know, it did cause a little bit of the roof problem too because it allowed water to settle in spaces where it normally would have drained out.
All right.
So, you know, I mean, I appreciate everything you're doing. I just want to get this moving and get it done. And I know you all are anxious to get it done.
Yes, ma'am. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Charles, just want to make clear.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Burke said, the staff doesn't have any comment on the scope of work, because that'll have to still go through the building permit process and make sure it complies with schedule and something else. But I think that, I don't know the application in front of me, but I think the application says that one of the criteria is that there are no outstanding or current code violations. You may want to make your motion contingent upon that, because we're not sure if they're outstanding.
And it is condition 6.
Okay. Basically, what he's saying is that if there's any outstanding code violations or anything like that, that you would have to take care of those before it would pay out, we could pay out the facade grant. So,
And I've checked that out before I
okay.
even went through this.
And that's not something we're adding on now. That's already in the criteria, so he's just bringing it to the attention.
Okay.
So if there is something they do come to you, as long as you take care of them and it's taken care of, then your facade grant will still move forward.
Well,
The question is, go ahead.
I'm sorry. How far back are these violations and restrictions? Are we supposed to be looking? I mean, the buildings, how old, ma'am? I'm sorry.
120 years old.
Citations or liens, it's not necessarily, it's whether there's a pending case or an existing lien.
But how far back are those?
Doesn't
Could be
matter.
30 years? Could be 50 years?
105
Well, I
years.
think the liens expire after 20 years.
That'd be a lot of
maybe,
money.
Well, you know
No,
what I'm
because
saying?
it hasn't, I know where you're going with this,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have anything
But
to
once they're
do,
recorded,
Yeah.
they're,
it has to do with anything that's not been satisfied to date.
Not that it had a lane.
And is that a condition for issuance of the grant, or is that for being,
It's
for
an-
receiving payment?
Well,
And
technically
agreed.
speaking, before you came to us, you would have had to have met that criteria to begin with.
it's part of the agreement for funding.
Right.
And does it pertain to this?
It-
Or does it pertain, what we're talking about today, funding for today, or does it pertain to the property as a whole?
Well, we're doing two different facade grants, so let's say 309 and 307 and 309, right?
301.
301. Let's say 301 didn't have anything and 307 did, or 30, what is it, 309? 309 did, then we're doing, it's two different facade grants. I mean, realistically,
Okay,
let me ask
so
you
it's
this
per
question.
address.
If we approve this facade grant, and it's contingent on everything on there, and all of a sudden there is a lien, not saying there is, but there is a lien, and in the time frame of doing the scope of work, the lien is satisfied, when she comes to collect the money for the facade grant, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as she doesn't use the.
Oh, no, yeah.
She won't get rid of
Well,
it.
that was
She's got to fix the lien before she gets our money to pay
That's
for
right.
the lien.
But, yes, okay, but if the lien, like, again, I'm playing devil's advocate, if the lien or the code violation was part of the canopy, we're funding the repair of the canopy or the facade grant to rectify the lien. That
No.
goes back to my original question.
The lien's got, no. Even if that was the case, I don't have a problem with that. Because the lien is going to be paid.
Yes, but we're paying
We're not
to
gonna
remedy
paying
our
it.
own.
We're paying
Look it up.
to
You have
fix
a
it.
system or something.
We're not paying the
Yeah.
lien. The lien, if there's a lien there, it's nothing, you know.
Well, I should say code violation.
She's not
just to be
using
more
our money,
precise.
anybody is not using our money to pay for the lien. They're only using our money after they've satisfied a lien to fix the building, which is what we want people to do, is fix their historic buildings.
All right.
Let's simplify this a little more, because I don't want to make her sit through another discussion. If there is a lien, and whether it be for anything on there, if she takes care of the
There's a
lien,
lien, I'm sorry, how long?
the liens,
No matter, forever, 120 years?
whatever, if there's a lien filed, it's a lien. It doesn't matter how old
Okay.
it
They
is.
expire after a certain time period,
Okay.
so they're not going to go back 100.
We would take that.
Says lien from code enforcement.
But it's easily,
So it doesn't-
it's easily checked and
Okay.
taken
If
care
there's
of
a lien,
unless it's a
ma'am,
pending
you're
You're
case
gonna have to
that may
take care of it
take.
before you get paid.
Right, I
That's
mean,
just where
code
we're
comes
at.
there all the time and looks.
Yep.
I mean, they always do that, and when they
Right.
cite something, I take corrective action right
Okay.
away. And I did check any outstanding liens prior to all this. Russ was there and Chris Smith was there. They pulled it up on the computer, there were no outstanding liens.
Okay, great.
So I was very satisfied with that.
We don't
We've done
have to
a lot
make
of
that
work
part
in
of our
the
motion
building.
because it's part of our
Part of our
application. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'll leave it to the, I guess we need to do two separate motions. You guys done yet?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
I'll leave it to board for action.
All right, I move to approve a facade improvement grant in the amount of $10,000 for improvements to 301 East First Street, subject to satisfaction of program requirements.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Leave it to the board for action on the second.
I move to approve a facade improvement grant in the amount of $10,000 for improvements to 309 East First Street, subject to satisfaction of program requirements.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Steve?
Second.
Brian. I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you,
We
gentlemen.
got to
Look
transfer.
forward to
you.
seeing it done.
And that is to both.
Decide? No,
Okay.
over there already.
We have it, there's $40,000 in there.
We don't have to
Huh?
move money.
We have it, there's 40,000.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh,
And that motion was for us to both properties.
Yes.
Okay, I knew we had it in there. All right, we're good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck with that.
I will say, in working with Shayna, she is absolutely a stellar employee.
She is great.
If I had a business going on right now, she'd be one of my first hires.
Wow.
I made promises.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Can we do Lake Mary Shuttle pretty quick?
We'll do it very quick. The ridership is increasing per month. We have you can see on there, we've got a printout. Per week, 262, 263, 294. The numbers are continuing to stay high. Alive After 5, you can see the numbers on there every month, 18, 21, 17. So it is working. We're bringing people to downtown for Sunrail. So just let you know, Amtrak is staying constant, 192, 198, 176, 198. So very good.
I know there's been a few board members that have brought up that they see the van coming in a different way a couple of times. I can tell you 90% of the time they go down the First Street, but if they're running a little bit late or they're trying to meet a deadline, they will skip the normal routine and break out of it. But I have been watching them a little bit, and I see them down here all the time. So, and we did ask the question. Has anybody got any questions on the shuttle? I would like them to maybe at least once a year come in and say hi.
I thought it was supposed to be quarterly.
It was supposed to be quarterly.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, tell them that if they can't come quarterly, then it's going to be a little difficult every time. I mean, we need them, but they got to.
Yeah, well,
give
we
us
see
some-
them once a year for renewal of contract,
Yep.
basically, is what it comes down to.
We'll look at the schedule for the next meeting. He had a conflict tonight. He really did.
Fair enough. Okay, as long as he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right, next item. Is this you, Ms. Ford? Discussion
Welcome
of-
Center, they're just giving a small update, it'll only be 5 minutes.
Sorry. How you doing, Brian?
Good.
Sorry you had to sit through a long meeting.
It's, different than most afternoons, so. I think all of y'all have a copy of the report that we sent, and it's pretty simple and straightforward. And I don't really have a whole lot to add to it per se, except that this is the first time that we've done this, and we understand it's going to be a quarterly thing. So if there's something in here that you'd like to see, we're happy to amend it for next time. We'd like to get a good format down so that everybody's used to it.
Not that everybody at this table doesn't go to a Live After 5 on a regular basis, but we need to figure out a way that you can start doing a little bit of a post. Maybe you're doing a post quarterly or something. We just did a post event. Not that you have to do every single one, but it may end up in that
You
direction.
mean like a wrap-up of each event? Is
Yes.
that what you're talking about?
I know it's going to be time-consuming, but I think we're making everybody else do it. I don't see why we
Yeah.
wouldn't make you guys do
Approximate
it.
attendance.
I really more care.
We could probably do something like that, but it would lag like a month or two behind by the time these are even preliminary numbers for the quarter, even though we're in
Fair
next
enough.
month. But
You can bring them all to us at a quarter when you come for a quarter.
that's what I was going to ask. Is there a way
That'd
that
be
we
fine.
could submit them instead of actually having to come in person and present them every time, maybe? Or Because other than that, you know,
Say why not?
it's bookkeeping.
I have no problem with that. I ask everybody else at the table, but I have no problem with that. We just really, I mean, we know what you're doing. Like I said,
Yeah.
everybody here is there,
Mhm.
but we need something documented on your attendance and meeting that criteria, because we're making everybody else do it.
And that is something actually we kind of we heard about that, kind of got the gist that you were looking for that, and we are going to make it a point now to try to collect some kind of information like zip codes or that kind of thing from
That'd be great.
attendees when they come to. I mean, it might not be a quote unquote representative sample, but it'll be as close as we can get. You know, just when people buy tickets or whatever the case may be, just ask them, would you give us your zip code?
Fair enough.
So that would be, we've already got that in place for this next event going forward, so we could definitely provide that. Attendance figures are always kind of like, you know, you look around and try to figure out how many people are there. We don't have a very scientific way to do that, other than we just, oftentimes we'll ask the police officers, you know, they have a better.
They give you a number, but it's always so much higher. It's always a little bit higher. It's a great number if you're trying to show people. Usually you can take 20% off the
Right. That's been one of the sort of downfalls of not selling wristbands anymore, because when you sold wristbands, you can say there were absolutely this many people there, and then you knew there were more than that. But we'll work on that and see if there's something we can come up with.
Would you be okay with quarterly, just doing a post report for each event and turning it in quarterly? And then that would eliminate, you know, you having to come in. You're going to come in anyway once a year. You're a little different in the sense that we make everybody come one time for their event, but you do 11 of them.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's
so basically, is the format just a, you know, kind of this basic profit and loss sheet that we have?
Somewhat. I'll have
Something
Sheena
like
can send that to you.
Okay.
And send it to you, and it's pretty close. It's getting a little more detailed. There's some pictures involved in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's no
Okay.
problem, and yeah, we'll just do
That'll
that
work.
and submit it to you.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian from Ladder Spot? Thank you for taking the time to come in, sir.
As always, thank you for your support.
Have a great day. All right. Ready?
Very
I said it was going to
quickly.
be a quick meeting, sorry. All right, update on the event center. Brady and John are here just to kind of give us where they're at on it, and I've got an idea that I want to bounce off everybody and see what they think of it, but come on up,
Well,
guys.
if that's okay, Charles, why don't I start with the streetscape update, because it's
Oh, you're doing
more
that
of a
too?
Yeah.
Gantt chart type
Go ahead.
They left.
update. The full survey is in. The survey product's being replicated at the office now. They are hoping to have the project out to bid within 3 months. They're working with Jeff Davis with the city and have it under construction and completed fourth quarter of 16. So those projects are right on schedule.
Cool. Great, now that's pretty much the city doing it, we're just
And
reimbursing.
then you had asked John to show up with a
Right.
quick update on his front, so I'll turn it over to John.
As a quick update, just to remind you guys, Mr. Turk, myself, Tom George, Mr. Bonaparte, and Mayor Triplett all had a meeting where we discussed certain avenues of what to do moving forward and funding of them. And one of our project was that the event center was something that we pitched to the commission. It was something we wanted to go down. What's it going to cost? What's it going to look like to do? So we were supposed to get a number so that we could all get together and see how do we pay for all this. And then we sent it over to you guys, and now he's coming back to give us a little bit of a report and their opinion on feasibility. So I'll give it to you guys for now.
Well, I mean, basically, we've done some research in the area, look at the surveys, looking at the site, understanding what the other areas of your size are doing for, you know, community event centers. You know, we're looking at a project that's about 18 to 20,000 square feet. We're looking at something in the range of $4 million, all said and done. I suppose by the time we improve the site and do something, you know, that's it's going to be a quality design. That's going to be a maintainable building down the road. But we're really ready. Before we start putting, you know, a lot of pencil down, we got to sit down and figure out what your program is. What are your needs, and we got to accommodate, you know, all the things that you wish to have happen in that center. I mean, there's a lot of busyness that goes on in these places. A lot of them get really busy, and we need to know, you know, what size of facilities do you want for certain events, that sort of thing, and start equalizing a plan that'll be multifunctional and that will adapt to the site. and it'll be a good fixture for your community.
Yeah, and
We
I
need to set another work session.
yeah, and that first step, what the CRA was looking for, what I think the city commission was looking for, and what Tom and his financial folks are looking for is a rough budgeting number. John and I had worked on that rough number going back now close to a year, so for budgeting purposes, what John is confirming is that $4 million range, but one thing that John and I were talking about, we had during the recess there, had a little opportunity to talk to Mr. Torrey again, and he and I had spoken the other day as well. Part of that stakeholder group is not just the CRA, it's what the Torrey group brings to the table. I mean, he's in town all weekend. What Little John and interactive between all those stakeholders, that final product would be shaped, and how that product is delivered. You all have talked about design build, design bid build. Potentially it's another RFQ. Potentially it's, Mr. Benny's, or Mr. Torrey's been studying the marketplace currently, so I'm sure he's going to have a huge role in shaping that. But for budgeting purposes, I think John, in looking at the market, has been very conservative in saying he feels that if the city embarks on a project, the $4 million range is what the CRA and the city commission, however that financing is broke down, that's a number you can focus on.
I was thinking, and this might be off the beaten path, but I was kind of thinking outside of the box a little bit, but, I was thinking with this public-private partnership stuff, and one thing that came to mind is as part of our, the Catalyst side is a hotel, and I don't know if you look at, it'll be very vague on how I say it, but you'll have to, we can tweak it, but my basic idea was, look, we're going to build a convention center, event center, you build a hotel, merge the two together, we're going to build you this, you build the hotel, now you operate them. And give the city a percentage of what comes out of the convention center, and use that as an enticement maybe to bring in a hotel. And maybe an RFQ would go out for looking for somebody that would operate within that. It's just an idea, but I think realistically, at the end of the day, I think all the parties need to sit at the table. And really, this is not something the CRA wants to take on their own. I can't speak for you guys, but I think everybody needs to be sitting around the table discussing the direction. But, that was something I thought of is, why not utilize that to accomplish something else within the downtown district that we're trying to accomplish?
Well, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, that, what they're doing, what they're going to be doing now. The work order is being processed to go to the next level now. After the works session.
And what Bob and I were talking about earlier today is we want to reiterate, CPH is not going to be the end architect as we discussed it 2 meetings ago here at the CRA. CPH is not looking to be the architect of record for that final product. That may be someone that responds to an RFQ. That may be someone that responds to an RFQ to you all or to the city commission or however. What you all have asked John to do is help formulate square footage, cost of construction, and get you to that point.
And that's all we were looking for now,
Right.
because as the meeting we had with Tom and everybody on that is just to see, we don't even know what we were going to spend. And then we were curious also, does it work? Is it something that'll work down here? I think right now with the fact that you have the ball fields fixing to come online, and they're booking out, and they're expecting somewhat of 24,000 extra room nights on top of the 22,000 I think they already have. I think now maybe a hotel looks pretty decent in downtown because we're the closest thing to it. You have to figure the airport's probably not too far behind in their planning session for a hotel. But I think it might work. So with that being said, I think we've gotten to what we need to get to now to suffice what we wanted to do to start the conversations. I think the next step will be everybody sitting down and having the conversation and saying, hey, you need to pull back on this, you need to move forward on this. An RFQ, maybe you do put it out on the street and let everybody come in and see what you get. There's no reason you can't have multiple projects going on at one time. I would hate to see it get tabled because I think it spurs growth, and I think it's a quick thing to happen. I don't want to talk about it for a couple of years, but like I said, I'm learning on government that it doesn't work very fast.
Tom has started having meetings with the financial people.
And now we're moving forward on that. So I guess realistically, I guess our goal will be over the next 30 days is before the next meeting would be to meet again with the city and see what their direction is, and Little John and John Jones, and see what the thought process is and find out how we fund it, and then at the next meeting either give you direction or pull you back. I don't know. I think the truth, it's not our decision to make here, and I don't think we're here to make the decision. But I think, at some point we all have to get on this in the same team and start playing together. So hopefully this will start it. So.
Yeah, and I know John and Bob spoke earlier today. If the decision is to continue, John is killing, for an opportunity to sit down with those stakeholders, because for everybody to start throwing darts and facilitating the formulation of how that process.
I think that would be a great thing, and I will tell you, I think when that process of a workshop, I would not just think it would be the CRA. I'd have to think the commission.
Sure.
It would have to be everybody involved in that, because once again, we might take the task of doing it, but we never wanted to build it or do it. So we'd have to have their input, and at the end of the day, the commission is the high authority. I still think if we don't at least look at trying to tie it in and getting what we want in an event center and a hotel together, I think that would be crazy not to chase that.
We will eventually.
You're more than welcome to talk if you'd like to.
Well, I don't want to just jump into the discussion. I will later on if you will.
Okay, yes, sir. So you guys have gotten us what we asked for in the beginning.
Great.
And hopefully we'll reach back out to you because we're moving forward.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We'll set the separate meeting up soon.
Perfect.
I didn't know you were chomping at the bit.
Oh, I have. It's been a year already.
Yeah, that's
talked about it
that's
for a year
moving
and a
quickly
half.
right now, then, isn't it? If it's only been a year.
Yeah, that's true.
We've been talking about the streetscape for a year too. I know, Vinny, you came. You're more than welcome to come to the table if you like.
My time to...
Yes, sir. Come on up. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
It's all right. I had trouble keeping my mouth shut through the whole meeting. I really did. Because what you guys are talking about is stuff that I talk about my own life in the world. I'm the treasurer of we call our business improvement district, which is our CRA, and we really talk about the same things. And a lot of the things you guys are doing, we're doing. So there's a lot of the same subjects. So everything you touched. So I was taking notes. So I have a lot of notes.
And sometimes it's fun to see somebody else do it. You know what you're doing is not that bad then, because you always wonder, are we good at our job?
Yeah,
are we just normal? Or?
So our city's 50,000 people plus. Our bid budget's about $1 million. So we're pretty similar in every sense of the word. A lot of the things we're trying to do, you guys are doing a little bit ahead of us. We're doing some things ahead of you.
Really?
So it's a lot of similarities. Our downtown has obviously different demographics, and corporate is a big corporate downtown. But aside from that, everything else kind of functions the same way. But I did take some notes, and I did have one little bit of commentary.
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm so sorry. Vinny Torrey, Four Companies, for the record. And the folks that I haven't met, nice to meet you all. I haven't met Paul, Steve. Let me get the right person. I know Mike,
Brian,
Charles, Brian, and then there's Steve and
Paul Osborne.
So one of the things you guys were talking about is the follow-up to the. Let me see if I have my glasses so I can speak correctly. One of the earlier items was how to keep track of what the requests, and then to follow up that they're meeting. One of the things that I thought about, and we have the same thing. In fact, I was communicating with my executive director how to follow up some of the events we do. We actually go out and specific solicit report back to some of these folks to know what the restaurants get full, the traffic meters get full. We have reports from the traffic. We have reports from but the executive director usually makes a follow up to those events, and like we have a called Geraldo Under the Stars, where the restaurants all come out and have a big event in the evening. Well, it's been pretty popular, but how popular? So we asked the restaurants to tell us how much increase they had in their revenues that night, and so we do follow-ups, and we have to do it because otherwise we have that same problem you're having. Is how do we know what we're doing is making a difference?
Right.
But one of the things that I started to think about is if you think about how you rent skates. When you go to rent skates, you give your license. And they give you the skates, and then you want to get your skates back, you got to get your license back. Well, if you were to do something similar with these requests, and say we're not going to give you, let's say it's $1,000, we're going to give you $950, and we're going to keep $50, and when you want that $50, we'll have it here tied to a little card, and when you give me that report, I'll give you that $50. just something to keep people it may not be significant, maybe it's a form that you have to come back and request, and you have to give me feedback. Now, some of this, like this gentleman who was here, who's going to give the report back whether the Elks thing was any, I mean, there may be no report back at all, I mean, you may not care, but there may be a system where you guys could implement some kind of, again, it's a form, and the form could say, what's the amount requested, what's the purpose, what are the benefits, and you have to write down the benefits for this thing are going to be the following. And these are the goals of this, and it could be a simple form, but at least you stated up front what that request was for, and then when you do the follow-up, you basically have a form to follow. And this is something I was thinking about that, we're going to probably, because we have the same discussions on that issue, so I just thought I'd
You could hold back 10%, which wouldn't be.
it could be, I mean, you may not be able to hold back in some cases, but I'm just thinking if you were just to say, it's $100, okay, it's not significant, but it's a $100 bill sitting here. Okay, you want to leave it behind, or you want to come pick up your $100? Just bring me that form, and I'll give you the $100. I mean, I'm just, again, it's something.
We streamlined a little bit to where before we were talking about doing something like that, but now
They won't be funded the following year.
they won't be following because now our money, we are paying city costs. It never goes to their hand. It goes straight from finance to this moves it over to the proper place. So our thing is if you don't come do the report, you can't come ask for funding next year. So you're shooting yourself in the foot. Is pretty much what you're doing.
Talking about your movie event, I'm trying to promote culture in our downtown as a reason that downtown is different. Okay, we want to have film, we want to have theater, we want to have books, we want to have fashion, we want to have a lot of these things so that people feel like when they go to dinner, they can go do something else at that time. I mean, it's another reason to go to downtown, right? So the film here, I think it's an important thing you guys could take advantage of because it gives people reason to come eat dinner and spend time here. So I know you're still trying to see how it works, but maybe 2 months may not be sufficient to gauge success because you may have 120 people, then 150, then it goes to 200, and then, so I don't know. I know you have to still deal with your scenario, but I think it's a great idea for things like that to happen in this downtown because you want to offer a lot of these things to people, make them come in here, have dinner, and have a drink, more than just the dinner part. The dinner part is great if you have a lot of restaurants, but then you have to have maybe something else for them to do afterwards, or another reason to come first, have a drink, and then go to eat. So, I mean, it's a great thing you have it. We don't have a theater in our downtown. We have a theater, but we don't have a movie theater. We have a theater for plays.
They're doing movies in Magnolia Square. They put a big screen out.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm promoting. We have a big park. It doesn't get used at all. And I'm like, why not do a movie night sort of a big screen and the kids can come with the lawn chairs? And I'm promoting to do something like that. Right now they're going to try out something a little smaller. But similar, it's the same thing. It's about getting people to say, okay, on Fridays, the last Friday of the month, I know it's movie night, kids, let's go, let's do something. And you start to have it happen all the time, so it's a trial and error thing, but a lot of that stuff ends up being what matters. So it's a good thing that you have it. I thought that was a positive thing to hear. So that was one of the things that I thought about.
You did take some notes.
Yeah, I did have one. The maintenance worker, that was another one that I'm also in the middle of talking about who maintains our downtown. The city's actually maintaining our downtown now through Public Works Department. You guys are doing it through the Parks and Recreation, but we do it through the Public Works Department. And they're trying to get our group, the bid, to take over that role. And I'm sort of leaning for it because the city doesn't do the same job that I think we would do. The city is a government, so I want to see people in uniform acting as behaving as the representatives of the downtown. These are the people that are sort of your attachés, your diplomats for the downtown. So I'm kind of trying to see if those guys could act beyond the maintenance, but they're basically an extension of what the downtown should be. So I'm saying to my people, I think it's not a bad idea to consider taking over the role. Again, it's budgetary issues like you're having here. But it's similar to what you guys are talking about. And I know that discussion was pretty, who pays for this stuff? And it's very clear, and it's just like, okay, who pays? Because I'm having the same day with my city managers are like, you got to do a lot more for downtown. You got to pick up the pace. And so I'm the biggest voice for downtown. I'm just like, downtown, more for downtown. And I think that this is the same sort of discussion you guys are having back and forth. It's the same thing, it's about how do these dollars get in there. But it's a process, it's going to be a process. This is going to take a little bit of time, and as things pick up and become better, then there's more reasons for them to, I'm talking about city, say, you guys can take a little more. So it's a success yields results, and then you're going to get something like that. Right. I envision all these things. So one of the things that I would like to see in this downtown eventually be pots with flowers, just like Winter Park does. I'm promoting that I'm saying we need to be able to say, when you get to downtown, it feels different. It all sort of becomes, and I know how much that costs, and there's a maintenance issue, and that's what that person may be doing, is taking care of these. So these things you eventually have to get into saying, do we really want to do it? Is there expense? Do we put it in our budget? I mean, you have $1 million to spend. How are you going to spend the dollars? But eventually, these little things come into play, and I envision those types of things to be significantly, adding to the experience as you come to downtown. You see things and you feel things a little different, and doesn't take that much, but you have to do it. When you go to Winter Park, and it's not far from here, there's hanging pots and flowers in every corner, and I know it's a maintenance issue, but it makes a difference how you feel about downtown, because it feels like somebody's taking care of it and is there for you. So that's my little tidbit for that. And the facade, I'm familiar with that building, and I know what that's all about, and those things do matter, because it's what you see.
So how's your take on Sanford right now? You've been in town now. You're starting to move forward.
I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm really very excited, and I see a lot of good things. I was actually in Delray last weekend taking my little educational tour. They did a similar, I'm not sure you guys did the research, but an RFP, I think they did it, about 4.5 acres, joint partnership, and it was a very successful one. They did similar
Multifamily?
They did multifamily. I think they did it as a condo project.
Yeah, what's the name of that?
I have it written down, and I forgot where I wrote it, but maybe it's in here.
Good trip.
Is it north of Atlantic?
Atlantic Grove.
Delray Beach?
Delray Beach.
Is it north of Atlantic Boulevard?
It's on the west side, on Atlantic. It's on the west side of Fifth. So it's something that they did similar, and when I drove by, I immediately noticed it, but I wasn't aware. When I did some research, I found out that it was a similar joint partnership, not with the city, but with some non-for-profits and CRA led. See, there is having a different situation. They have too much money, and they're getting in trouble for actually taking from the city, where the city's saying, now you got to give back, and they have $29 million.
Oh, wow.
That's a hell of a problem.
And that's exactly. Now it's about mismanagement and what are you doing, and the city should be, keeping some of that money, and it's a whole different discussion, because they've gone the entire realm to the other side now. Basically, they've become extremely successful, and they have a hotel, and they have a bunch of apartment complexes now just popping up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, but the issue with the hotel, we have a market study that we completed, and it's going to be discussed on Saturday, and you'll meet the head of the economic marketing group that we have. But we did a study on hotels specifically with a hotel expert. It is come back. We have it. You'll know about it. The hotel is not in the first line of our job yet. It's something that's still there, but it's something we need to look at, and I think that the discussion you're having about the Civic Center really comes together with the hotel. And I think the two would really be needed to be discussed simultaneously, because even discussions we had with some of the commissioners, some of them, when you have a bridal shower, they're going to Lake Mary. When they're having these events, they are going. So they're going for other things that just as a family, you could be having here. It's just a matter of what size is that room going to need to be. Is it for corporate? Is it not for corporate? There's a lot of questions that go into what you do, and if there's a hotel, will the hotel, and do you have a restaurant function with it? Not a restaurant function with it? Do you have a restaurant? So I think it all comes together with our discussion. So, but we think that this you guys call it a civic center? What do you guys?
They call it a
event center. It plays an important part, and it could be a really big piece to this puzzle. We're calling them like chess pieces. All these chess pieces have significance. Mm-hmm. It's just about where you place them on the board. Mm-hmm. And the other one that has a lot of significance is Marina Isle. So we have to bring that into our discussion as well. But that's all part of our, because we're looking at this very holistically, very broadly. Mm-hmm. It has to be done that way so it works. We really are looking at this as big broad strokes. CRA is a big part of this, but we're looking at this broadly, and you're gonna hear about the marketing report on Saturday. But we're gonna try to really make an impact, which is what this is supposed to be, an impact of. Right. About. We're not trying. A hotel right here would not make the impact. Something that we need to make an impact, because it's a catalyst site, and it needs to be a catalyst site so that everything else falls in. You got a lot of other things already going on. You have opportunities everywhere. They just haven't been ignited yet, but I think there's going to be a time to do all that. The concern that I have personally, and I've been sharing this with everybody that I can talk to, the concern I have is the future, because I'm pretty confident this will work. I'm pretty confident that we're going to do a good job, and I'm pretty confident you guys are going to, support. It's what happens afterwards when success starts to happen. What happens around downtown to not let it go awry. And this is some of the discussions that I want to make sure that, right now, nobody's come in here. You have a pretty encapsulated location, but it's going to change eventually. And you have people that just don't do what somebody else would do. And what happens with developers, you give them an inch, they try to take a foot. And when they come to the table, they're not going to ask you for 100 units. They're going to ask you for 150 units because that's what developers do. They ask for more. They always, and what happens is you're going to get the tendency to have some bad things happen. And what drives this project in this town is the quaintness, what you have already here. You have to protect it. That is your brand. So some of the things that we're going to talk about is how to establish protections for your brand, because again, you've been encapsulated, but chances are 3, 4, 5 years from now you will not have the same slow-mo. You're going to have people racing to get in cheap, and then the proposals are going to come to planning and zoning, are going to look horrible. And you're going to say, oh my God, what is this? And then it's right across the street. It's right there. And you're going to say, look at that piece of garbage. But you don't have a way to block it. And then you basically have lost a lot of the things that you've been gaining on, which is Sanford Avenue. That's the organic growth that's been leading this. And it's because of what you guys have done already. It's pretty impressive what's happened, but it's basically done with just a few streets and a few things that you've already done. So it's a great lead into everything else, but the bones are there. The majority of the bones are here. But I think what you have to play off is what you already have. And you're not going to be like Mary. Don't ever try to be like Mary. Don't try to be like anything else. Try to be like yourselves, because this is what you guys are going to be good at.
I was hoping we could be like Coral Gables.
I mean, what we have there is that we have corporate, all over the world came in and they let them to build high rises, and they became, we got the money we bring in from taxes by these people, it's unbelievable. I mean, IBM, you call it HBO, they're all there, but that's just, you don't want to do that. I mean, I think it would change everything, and it's not going to be Sanford. That's not what you want to do. You got to do it another way.
A controlled growth.
Yeah. And you already have.
We've had opportunities to go to the dark side, but
the entertainment usually leads. You already have a lot of the restaurant. You already have a lot of these things that usually lead, and they're going to continue to lead. And if you continue to do it correctly, those will lead the charge. They're already leading the charge. That's what right now it's leading the charge. Not corporate anything or not anything else. It's the restaurants. It's the artsy guys. Or the creative types. Those are the people that are going to lead you. So it's a matter of getting it and taking advantage of those people. But you're doing a great job, and I commend everything you guys have done so far.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And look forward to working with you. Look forward to what you're going to do. And really looking forward to the future. It's kind of exciting. We've said this at many a meeting that it's going to be a good time to be on the CRA right now, because you're really going to start seeing the changes. Everybody before us was getting us ready for the change. We actually get to drive the boat while it's changing, which is going to be neat. Not to take away from what they did, but
one of the things that you guys should, and I was writing some notes, but I think your vision should start leading towards the water already, and how the water can start helping you guys more, because the water still hasn't been activated. And how can the CRA start to bring more of that water usage? I mean, do we do anything across the way where people can go there? Just like, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not suggesting anything. It's just back to the point. The water here is not being used or impacting enough, and it's a shame. And we're going to make an effort to fix it. But you should also be starting to put that.
I think
it's
that's
an
why we did the
amazing
river
amount of.
walk, and that's why we did the day.
But the boat's sitting there. You got very few people
going on right now,
looking at a boat, or a few people are fishing. I understand that, but there should be a lot more. Now, maybe again, I don't know enough about this yet. That pizza place there is not maybe helpful. I don't know any of these little bits of information, but something eventually could be boat rentals, more activity coming off that area where kids can I don't know. And
All the sailboats out there now.
we have a similar thing there, but it's an amazing, look at that. I mean, I just haven't gotten to where, I'm not there yet, I haven't really been on the water, and it's right there, and I'm not experiencing the water. I'm experiencing first, but I'm not experiencing the water. We gotta do both.
Well, our goal has been to tie First Street into the waterfront. That's been our mission
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now with the extension.
But the water, you don't have the water anyplace else.
No, I know.
People here need to be coming to the water for some reason, for something. It's a draw. It's
Exactly.
A draw.
All right. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
All right. Real quick, Brian, you got anything? I know it's getting late.
No.
Mike?
I'm totally good.
Paul?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yep. Bruiser on the Zoo is in Sanford on it's this Saturday. For those of you who have your tickets, you'll have a good time. For those of you who don't, it's sold out.
This is the
We were looking at
CRA.
it while you were out there.
Yeah.
Part of that.
Where are you
All right.
paid for?
Here, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Oh, sorry.
That's mine.
They can't, it's behind the scenes happening.
Get out of
They
here.
can't announce it because of state grants.
But that might be, that's on the,
Sheena,
on the horizon.
they got the
Oh,
name
it's
spelled wrong.
It's right there in front of our face.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Brian and mine both.
Oh, he knows about it, he's met him.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me we want to pay half price for the next one.
Real big fit.